Well, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. It is 1 o'clock p.m., December 8th. It's a Monday, and this Monday is starting fast because we have a weather impact alert right here in our area once again. We ended last week with a weather impact alert. We begin this week with a weather impact alert as it has been a below average start to December when it comes to temperatures. And frankly, it was a below average August, below average September, even October, November, back and forth, and then now December, certainly below average to start this month of December. And it's starting to show up in some of the weather conditions that we're experiencing here as snow and wintry mix and precipitation, cold rain, all possible in our viewing area today as we move into the afternoon. And so we're going to be diving into every angle you can think of when it comes to that weather coverage right here on our Live Impact News stream. Now, in addition to that, of course, we will be keeping tabs on all of the major headlines of the day. We are definitely going to continue to explore all of the most impactful, most breaking news for you right here locally, nationally, and globally, while we also monitor the weather throughout our stream. Now, we also have special news when it comes to this particular live stream, and that is that we are going to be going for an extra hour today, just about an extra hour today. We're going to take the stream all the way up to 3:59 p.m. Right here on Live Impact News, because we do feel as though there's a possibility that we will be streaming as the weather starts to pick up. And so we want to be right here on this platform to bring you all of those updates as you go. And I will be moving straight from this stream over to our studio to start our 4 p.m. broadcast, where we once again will continue to dive into that weather impact alert day. Hence the shirt and tie. If you're a regular viewer here with us, you know that a little bit of a fancier attire here than usual here on Live Impact News, but things are moving fast today. So we want to be ready for anything, which we feel as though we are so far. Now, the primary reason that we're ever prepared for anything here on our afternoon Live Impact stream is because of the People's Producer, Nia Campbell, always keeping us prepared, on our toes, and ready to dip and move as we go. Nia, happy Monday. What a start to the week for us here.
Happy Monday. I know this is definitely a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a surprise because our Mets have been telling us, but it is a surprise for me because I'm not used to snow this early in the season. I haven't been living here for that long, but
Yeah.
have you dealt with this growing up?
No. I mean, the thing about Hampton Roads weather is that it is a roller coaster, and you have to kind of prepare yourself, especially December, January, February, even March and November. That stretch of time, you really have to prepare yourself for anything, because in Hampton Roads, it could be anything. But no, for me, an occasional random day of snow, even as you get into late December, feels maybe possible, but it's almost as likely that you'll get a really balmy, warm day almost in December. I mean, you could even run into a day in December in Hampton Roads where you can wear shorts out and about. That certainly has not been the case this year. So ready for anything, but certainly not expecting snow this early in the season. And of course, as we've come to know here on Live Impact News, Nia Campbell is from Jacksonville, Florida. They definitely don't expect snow in early December in Jacksonville, Florida.
No, we do not.
No, that is not what you're thinking. And, you know, we've got Brianna Fallon out in the field on the Peninsula right now. I'm not sure if she can hear us. I think she can. Can we have a thumbs up, Brianna, if you can hear us? We got the double thumbs up from Brianna. And what we also can see is that it appears as though there's snow falling right now where Brianna Fallon is standing. So she gives us a tip of the cap there to welcome herself to Live Impact News. Brianna, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us exactly where you are? And this is not a visual effect. It is, in fact, snowing right now.
Yes, it is definitely snowing right now. It's been snowing for about the past hour, I'd say. Right now we're in Newport News off of Warwick Boulevard, and I've been kind of talking about how the snow has been falling, but it hasn't been sticking to the ground. But now, bear with me, if you can kind of see here, you can actually see the snow starting to stick to the ground here on these leaves. It's really starting to fall. It's picking up, and then also, if you actually want to follow me over here, you can see on these cars over here, just kind of parked in this parking lot, you can see the snow starting to even stick there. Now, right now, the roads themselves do look pretty okay. Nothing really sticking too much on the roads if you take a look at those, but they are still pretty wet. So, if you are out on the roads, it's important to still drive cautiously, even though, you might not be worrying about that slush yet or that snow, but that could come later today. And again, you can kind of see the wind just really pushing that snow, and just, it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon, but that's all I have for you guys right now, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay, Brianna, first of all, awesome. Secondly, we can hear the wind in your lav microphone. It is clearly a factor out there. Yes, thank you for the protection. Great job by you and your photographer showing us some of that accumulation. I just very briefly, it looks like there's no shortage of traffic out there. People are still on the roads going about their business. Obviously, we see the snow coming down. In terms of just the pure temperature, how cold is it out there? I mean, is it kind of that painful cold to be outside yet, or is it manageable?
Depends, I guess. I mean, I'm wearing, gloves, I have layers on, I have a jacket on, and I'm still very, very cold. So definitely, if you are going to be outside, bundle up as much as you can. And to your point about the roads as well, we actually were about 15 minutes up the road, still on Warwick Boulevard earlier today, and we were by the Fort Eustis area. Up there, even on our commute down here, there was still a lot of cars on the road. It took us a little bit longer than we expected, just because of how many people are still on the roads, despite, this wintry weather kind of hitting the area. So again, if you are out there, make sure you bundle up and just be careful while you are out on the roads, Connor.
Okay, so you can definitely tell just from this live shot, freezing cold, there is snow falling, and it is starting to accumulate just a bit here recently from Brianna Fallon. Brianna, we know you have a ton of work to do. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to hang with us here on Live Impact News. Go get warm, at least for a little bit, and everybody, you can see Brianna 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on all of our shows today on 13 News Now. Brianna, we appreciate it.
Yep,
all right, so
you.
that is out in Newport News. I mean, look at that snow falling down. Naya, that is more than I expected. It is really coming down out there on the peninsula. That is, and she said for the past hour, that is what they've been experiencing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, I can't believe
Warwick Boulevard.
Warwick Boulevard is where Brianna Fallon is. Yep. And Brianna, you're clear. She's still hanging out there with us. Brianna, you are clear and good to go. We really appreciate your time. Hopefully we can get the heat going in the car there relatively quickly, or maybe just keep that car running while she continues to do her reporting out there in Newport News. And yes, so here in Norfolk, where we are, Virginia Beach, where I drove in to work from, that is just simply not what we have been experiencing here on the south side, right? And so we get a look at the peninsula. I know if you watched our noon broadcast, maybe you did see some of that. But for myself and Nia Campbell, that's our first time getting an actual look at the snow out there on the peninsula. And as our weather team warned and has been cautioning, there is, in fact, a good amount of snow falling out there in Newport News. Right off of Warwick Boulevard is where Brianna Fallon is located, where she did that live shot from. So, okay, so that is a peek into what is to come for today. She said that's been happening for about an hour. It's just starting to accumulate now a little bit. That's, we will continue to keep an eye on the peninsula for sure. We're going to also talk. We've had some interviews with officials that have happened already today that we're going to dive into in a little bit. We're going to have meteorologists here with us in studio talking about what's happening right now and what's to come. And of course, what you need to be most cautious of as you go about your day in this wintry weather. But I think for us here right now in the studio, we're kind of still stuck on what we just saw from Brianna Fallon, which was some very, very noticeable snowfall happening in Newport News right now as we speak. I mean, that was a consistent amount of precipitation coming down during that live shot there. And again, she'll have more updates on that particular area and on the peninsula in general coming up at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock on 13 News Now. So we appreciate her taking some time to hang with us here on Live Impact News. Let's utilize our own sort of tower cams here, Naya, and let's just go around the area and take a look at what we're seeing in the various locations that we have here. Now, this is the Chamberlain cam. This is going to be out on the peninsula as well. This particular camera, you can see the precipitation gathering on the lens, but we don't see anything near what we just saw from that live shot in terms of snowfall. It looks like more rainy for now, but certainly overcast out there on the peninsula at our Chamberlain cam. But you can see a little bit of grass there at the bottom of your screen and no noticeable snowfall that we can see from here. But again, Brianna did tell us it's just now starting to accumulate a little bit on the ground. And, you know, frankly, if we go out to Hampton here, Naya, I believe we will see a little bit of snowfall coming down from our tower cam. Let's go out to Hampton because, yeah, that is much more similar to what we just saw from Brianna Fallon's live shot, is you do have some real snowfall coming down out there in Hampton, and you can even see it from our tower cam. Now, if you look out, you can tell the grass still, you know, there's still not a lot of accumulation. The grass is clear and green. The roads are clear, but here comes the snow. I mean, it is starting to come down out there in Hampton. And this is the first tower cam that we've got where you can actually see real snowflakes coming down in that part of our viewing area. So what we can tell you is the peninsula, it is snowing out on the peninsula as of right now, 1:11 p.m. There is definite snowfall coming down, and as Brianna Fallon told us, it's been coming down for some time. Let's go ahead and look at the south side. The south side, especially those coastal areas, are not expected to get snowfall or nearly that degree of snowfall. More rain is expected in those areas. Can we go ahead to a, yep, that's exactly what I was going to request. We actually have a person out here, Naya. We have a person making their way in from the beach. Not an ideal beach day, but to each their own. Yeah. Right? Maybe easier to walk on the sand at least. It's kind of packed down from the moisture.
That just sounds very uncomfortable.
It sounds remarkably uncomfortable, especially looking at this shot. As you can tell out in Virginia Beach, it's raining and cloudy over at the ocean front.
I will say the waves look nice though.
The waves do look nice. You mean like nice to go and hang out, or nice just aesthetically kind of beautiful?
Yeah.
Okay, just to look at. Yes, it is a very picturesque. I mean, well, this beach cam is one of my favorite of our tower cams, and it does look. There's still some white caps out there, but just looking at it right here, it is kind of a more of a serene, sort of beautiful picture of the water there. And then come back out to the 16th Street cam, please, Naya, and you get that sharp change from kind of, you get up close and it maybe is a little bit more on the beautiful side, and then you come back out and you get a look at the sand and the boardwalk, and you're reminded of kind of how nasty it is out there in that area. Let's just give another shout out to the gentleman who was walking around the boardwalk there. Don't necessarily be like that gentleman. Please stay inside if you can today, because it's just nasty out there. And moving with caution, whether you're on foot outside or traveling by car, is absolutely the recommendation here. Let's jump over to Town Center. We'll stay in Virginia Beach. Let's take a look at Town Center here. Town Center, similar to the oceanfront. Quite a bit of rain there that you can see accumulating on the lens. And this is pretty high up, and you can tell our camera is shaking a little bit, which we can only assume is from the wind out there in Town Center. Just a sort of a noticeable sway of our camera because of the wind that they're experiencing in Virginia Beach. And
I know when I was coming in this morning, well, it was around like 11:30. It was super windy. My umbrella was like pushing me back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
You almost got whisked up and just kind of like taken away.
I didn't know I was that snatched to get whisked up.
Right. There's always some good to come out of these experiences. You learn some things. I like the thought of you almost kind of get taken, but then you're like, oh, thanks, Mother Nature, for the compliment. I appreciate it. So, yes, windy outside. Take it from Nia Campbell. It is windy, rainy, overcast, and as Brianna Fallon said, cold out there, both on the peninsula and on the south side. And then if you just isolate the peninsula, it is snowy as well. Let's take one trip out to Nauticus, if you don't mind. Let's take a look at Norfolk here, not too far from the station, and see what we've got out in sort of near downtown Norfolk, with a look over at some of those travel areas as well. And it's, not quite as rainy even, But now you can see some precipitation in that shot right there. That particular, and it looks...
Is that flakes?
You know, it's hard to say specifically, but it looks more like flakes than rain just from where we're standing in this studio. And perhaps that's that wintry mix that our weather team is always talking about. That's sort of, it's a little snowy, it's a little rainy. And that is right near downtown Norfolk, everybody. To the left of your screen is downtown Norfolk. You can see Portsmouth off in the distance, and then you got Town Point Park right in front of you there. And that looks like a wintry mix to us from where we're sitting in the studio, kind of a snowy, rainy precipitation. And so it might be a little bit of that coming down near downtown Norfolk. You certainly don't see any people out enjoying themselves over in the Nauticus area. Off in the distance, you do see the roads appear to be, maintaining a semblance of regular travel over there in downtown Norfolk near Main Street.
Connor, have you been down
area.
to Miracle and Waterside Drive?
I don't think so.
They have like the whole setup and the trees and everything all lit up.
Oh.
I think that would be very beautiful if it snowed and we got to see that type of scene.
Miracle on Waterside Drive. If you're driving down Waterside, is it just on your right side? You can see it from the road?
It depends on which way that you're coming from.
If I'm going towards Waterside from where we are now, if I'm headed towards the highway.
I think that would be on your left.
That would be on our left. Okay, I'll have to get out there and check it out. No, I haven't seen that. And anytime you've got some Christmas lights, the beauty is kind of enhanced when you get those nice kind of winter wonderland, snowy nights. Again, the most important thing is to be safe and to be cautious. But when you do get sort of a nice snowfall, there's also, like you said, there's a lot of good stuff and fun stuff that can come from it when you're out there hanging out and enjoying a little bit of a snow day. But for now, cold and rainy is the main thing that we're seeing in Virginia Beach and Norfolk, whereas over on the peninsula, it's starting to be a pretty consistent snowfall. Why don't we do this, Naya? Let's take one more look out at Hampton before we get out of here. This is the Jordan Bridge. This is more of the same when it comes to that rainy and overcast look here, though.
The reason I went to this one is just, it's so unfortunate that people are still having to work out in these conditions.
Yes, indeed. Indeed it is. You would hope that you could get a break on a day like today just out of the pure discomfort. But maybe work early on before it started getting too nasty out, and then as it gets a little bit more snowy, you can kind of get out of there and go home. That's what we hope, at least.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I love a bit of sympathy from Nia Campbell mixing into our live impact news, and so definitely anyone who does have to work outside today. Be careful, and we're sorry that you're kind of having to be in such conditions. Anyone who's driving to and from work on a day like today, including all of the people with us here at 13 News Now, please be careful on the roads. There is no rush to get home on a day like today. And then during our sort of tower cam tour here, we want to take one more look out at Hampton, where it is, it's 100%, you can really tell the snowfall. You get a really good sense of it from looking at this particular image right here. So, okay, now we will continue to check in on those cameras as we move throughout our stream, right? We're going to continue to give you live looks at all of the different areas that we have live feeds for, so that you can get a real sense of what it's like outside in your area. But for now, let's listen in on a VDOT official that our own Jeremiah Beatty spoke with earlier this morning to get a sense of some of the precautions that they've taken leading up to this storm and what to expect during the storm. Let's go to that interview now that was recorded a few hours ago, kind of during our morning shift here at 13 News, and then we'll join back here in the studio and continue to make our way through this weather impact alert day.
What's the biggest concern on the roads this morning based on what your crews are seeing right now?
So this morning we do have snowfall starting in different areas of Hampton roads, and we'll eventually start covering the region. But as far as that goes, we're just monitoring. We're going to be pushing snow once it really starts accumulating, and then we're just keeping an eye on treating the roadways and making sure we're addressing any slick spots, and just making sure everything's as safe as possible at this point. But we do encourage to limit travel during the storm.
And I know there's a lot of advisories out. Some schools are delayed today. Have you all had to make any adjustments to the game plan as far as coverage?
So fortunately, well, we plan year round for these winter weather events already. And then we were covering all weekend. We were monitoring and planning already for the snow event. And then when it comes down to it, we were prepared. And just because the snow totals went up a little bit, it doesn't really change our snow operations. We're still now working in 24-hour operations. So we have crews working 12-hour shifts, working around the clock just to address the roadways and get them cleared no matter the snow totals that we get. They'll be working around the clock until we get them safe for everybody.
And what should drivers be doing differently today, even if roads look clear?
Sure. So ultimately, during one of these storms, we always say the safest place to be is indoors. Definitely limit travel as much as possible. But if you do need to go out on the road, we do ask that you drive safely, drive for the conditions. So drive a little slower, build in more time to get where you need to go, leave some space between you and the car in front of you, and don't crowd our plows. Like make sure you give them plenty of room to work and get these roads cleared for you guys.
I think you hit my next question on the head. Is there any additional information you want me to push out to our viewers for my noon report?
Sure. So when it is time to hit the road, we do ask to use our free 511 tools so you can see the latest road conditions and definitely check the entirety of your route. And so you can use our website or the free mobile app. And then we also have a customer service center that's 24 hours. So if you need to report hazardous road conditions or have some sort of question about these state maintained roadways, they can also reach out to our customer service center, and there's an online way where you just go to my.vdot.virginia.gov. There also is a 24-hour customer service center that we have available that if you want to report hazardous road conditions or if you have any questions about a state maintained roadway or our operations, they can reach out to 800 4ROAD, so FORROAD, or online at my.vdot.virginia.gov, and you can reach out to one of our customer service center representatives there.
Specific focus on Newport News. What do preparations look out there, especially with those bridge tunnels, since conditions are changing from that snow and rain mixture?
Right. So we did start pre-treating operations yesterday. So that included all of our state maintained roads, other the interstates on the south side and the peninsula, including over by Newport News, as well as our obviously significant water crossings like the Monitor Merrimack and HRBT. And these two bridge tunnels also have their own dedicated trucks as well that will be monitoring and continuing to treat and address the roadways as the storm continues.
What additional steps are crews taking on major routes like I-64 and overpasses on the peninsula? And I guess this is from, daytime into this evening, overnight.
So we do have crews specifically on I-64 on the peninsula covering, just working around the clock on those routes over there, including on like areas that freeze or that tend to freeze first. So like overpasses, bridges, ramps, that sort of thing. So they'll be keeping a special eye on those. And then also just the main interstate roadway as well. But they'll be working around the clock through the night until conditions improve as well.
And with the forecast is showing to be Newport News could be the hardest hit area. With that in mind, what extra precautions are in place to keep drivers safe?
So we're fully staffed on the peninsula, and as far as as the forecast evolves and as just depending on who gets the most snow, we can always adjust the amount of trucks in certain areas, and if some got less, we can take some from one area and move it to another. So if Newport News does end up getting more, we can include more on the peninsula over there. And then as far as the city streets, that of course is City of Newport News, since the cities and Hampton Roads actually maintain their own roadways.
All right, back here in the live Impact News studio. Those are VDOT officials there that we just heard from, who were giving a little bit of an overview of what they do to prepare for a day like today and how they move through a day like today in keeping everyone cautious and as safe as possible on the roads. The Virginia Department of Transportation hard at work every day, but especially a day with these sorts of weather impacts. Now, we have another live shot coming up here shortly with our very own Emily Harrison, who is out in the Suffolk area for another portion of our snow coverage. We're going to give her another second to get all set up here, though we do see her shot up. Emily, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? It doesn't. Oh, we do have a thumbs up. Okay, Emily is almost ready. We're going to go to her in just a couple of seconds here. In the meantime, we again will update you on the fact that we spoke with Brianna Fallon right off the top, and there was snow falling out on the peninsula in the Newport News area, and it was just starting to accumulate on cars and the ground where Brianna Fallon was off of Warwick Boulevard. But now we do have Emily Harrison up and ready to go. Emily, thank you so much for joining us here. I see that you have foregone gloves in favor of the sleeve pull-down method for hand warmth, which an interesting decision. But more importantly, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us where you are and how it feels out there?
Yes, well, I am currently live in Suffolk off of Godwin Road. I was not expecting to be called out so viciously by you, Connor, for my lack of gloves, but I am going to get them very soon. We were having a debate right before we came on here because we weren't sure whether to call this a wintry mix or if it's kind of gone over to flurrying at this point. The verdict is still out on that, but we are taking a look at all this and take a look at the traffic. Drivers starting to slow down just a little bit now that we're seeing a little bit more of this winter weather, and hopefully, I mean, you can see it's coming down for the time being. Earlier today it was kind of drizzling, and I said to Marta earlier, it was almost like it wanted to become a flurry, but it just wasn't able to do it. Now I think that we are truly entering flurry stage. I'm actually going to make that call right now. I'm calling this flurrying.
There you heard it, the official call from Emily Harrison. We've got flurries in Suffolk, and I love how you painted that picture, right? There's the sort of rainy drizzle earlier. It has ambitions to become a flurry, and like so many of us hope to do, it worked hard over time and now has reached that goal. So we have snow coming down on the peninsula, we have flurries in Suffolk, but as we saw out on Warwick Boulevard, and as Jason Walsh, our photographer, is showing us with the shot right here, still a lot of traffic moving in and out of the area. I mean, and there doesn't look to be any accumulation on the roads whatsoever. Emily, have you seen anything out there in terms of any sort of inhibitants to the free flow of cars in any way or of travel?
No. As you'll remember, just a couple seconds ago, I just defined this as flurrying, so it's only been going for a few minutes now, so we have not had any accumulation just yet. But if you ask me, there is certainly enough coldness in the air for this to happen. It is absolutely freezing out here. I'm sure our meteorologist could tell you exactly what the temperature is right now, but it feels like it could be cold enough for snow. We've also seen a few cars and trucks moving along here, dropping salt. I even saw, I believe it was a City of Suffolk car that came by with a plow. It wasn't being used yet because there is no snow, but we expect that they will be using them later tonight. And I got a statement from the City of Suffolk telling me that they are keeping an eye on this storm and to please follow all of your local media, including 13 News Now, for all the updates that you'll need throughout the night.
Okay, I can sense it in your voice, how cold it is out there. It's like you can just kind of feel it from what you've been telling us and how you've been describing it. So you would suggest anyone who goes outside, all the fixings. We're talking big coat, full on,
I made
hat,
a rookie
scarf,
mistake.
the whole deal.
I thought I had my gloves. I swore they were in my purse. They were not, unfortunately. So I'm going to be heading over to that CVS over there, and I will be going to get those gloves.
Now, typically on this program, we don't do any free shout-outs, but I think it is well worth it for the fact that you're going to get some hand coverage. A crucial missing item for Emily Harrison, but more than made up for with a fantastic live report. And we know you got a ton of work to do. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to hang out with us here. Go get some gloves, and thank you for the update or the official determination of a flurry out there in Suffolk, and you can catch Emily 4, 5, 6 o'clock, all on 13 News Now. Emily, thanks for hanging with us for a little bit here.
Thanks for having us.
Always. All right, now as you can see, we've had 2 live shots now. One from Brianna Fallon out by Warwick Boulevard, one from Emily Harrison over in Suffolk, and in both of those live shots, snow falling. I mean, like out on Warwick Boulevard, it was really coming down. It was accumulating on Brianna's hood a little bit. It was accumulating on the ground a little bit. In Suffolk, not so much. We didn't see the accumulation, but Emily Harrison told us they just kind of turned from more of a rainy winter mix to an actual sort of snow flurry. So that just started out in Suffolk, but both live shots now have seen actual snow falling from the skies in a nearby Warwick Boulevard on the Peninsula and then over in Suffolk. Now, those inland areas, that is what is expected according to our weather team. Is it very, very possible that we will see snow in a lot of those inland areas? Those coastal areas, especially on the south side, more sort of a rain expected or a wintry mix is expected. But let's go ahead and take this Norfolk Botanical Garden cam now, please, Naya, if you don't mind, because out at the Norfolk Botanical Gardens, I think it's fair to say that that is a wintry mix or perhaps even a little bit of snow. I mean, all of our tower cams are really starting to pick up when it comes to precipitation. And I would classify this very similarly to how Emily Harrison did out there in Suffolk, which is a drizzle that has just started to turn into a flurry, though maybe perhaps still a wintry mix. What do you think, Naya? Can we get a judgment call from you? Oh, and it's picking up out there.
That looks nice.
That's picking up nice. We've had now 2 different tower cam shots where pointing out just the beauty, which is a part of this, right? It's early December. We're officially in the holidays, and this seems to be picking up as we go here. It's either picking up or the wind is taking it more directly into our camera. I think that may be what we're witnessing, is that the wind is kind of pushing it towards our lens at certain moments, and it looks like some really heavy fall of snow here. But I mean, that is a full-on snowfall out at Norfolk Botanical Garden. And if you kind of look beyond the droplets that we've got on our lens, then it really is kind of beautiful with the plants in the backdrop, a few trees that still have their sort of green on them, and then a few trees that have gone barren, and then you've got the water, of course, in the back as well. We want to, anytime we have a weather alert day here, a weather impact alert day on Live Impact News, as we kind of talk through all this stuff, and a lot of our coverage beyond our meteorologists and our interviews is just kind of surveying the scene and giving you an idea of what may be outside of your work building or your home or your school while you're inside watching the news. And we want to make sure that we both inspire caution, because it can be dangerous, especially on the roads, while also acknowledging sort of the beauty that comes with a snowfall and how special a snow day can be for so many people. And so that's certainly the case out at the Norfolk Botanical Gardens. It's funny, Naya, we just spent an entire summer where most of the time when we went to this tower cam, if there was anything on the lens, it was a bee crawling around. Right? We'd go out to our botanical garden lens, and there would be some sort of insect crawling around on the lens, and now it is wintertime, and we have transitioned totally to snowflakes and cold water drops hitting our lens. So quite the transition there over at Norfolk Botanical Gardens. Now, could we do our Eastern Shore cam, please, Naya? Because it certainly looks, just from observation, like it is a heavy snowfall out there on the Eastern Shore as well, and really overcast and really cloudy out there on the Eastern Shore. But again, full flurries out there on our Eastern Shore cam, very similar to what we've seen in some of our live shots with our reporters here. That Eastern Shore camera is covered in snowflakes and water droplets, and it is falling down quite hard out there on the Eastern Shore. Okay, now we are kind of moving through as we look at different tower cams here. We want to make sure that we get as much weather coverage in as we possibly can. And then, of course, we will continue to look into some of the other stories that we've been observing today. None of our live feeds are showing anything especially pressing for us to get to. We can go ahead and go instead to a interview that we had earlier today with our very own Shane Fordham, who spoke with Virginia Beach Emergency Management departments at cities all across our area, hard at work today as much as any other day, ensuring that people are safe, roadways are safe, and that everybody is able to get where they need to go with caution and with efficiency. It is a huge day for different emergency departments, and that, of course, holds true in Virginia Beach, where we spoke with the Director of Emergency Management, our own Shane Fordham, once again, doing the interview for us this morning. So let's go and listen in on that interview now.
What sort of conditions are you all expecting today or preparing for today?
The forecast really keeps fluctuating. There's been a lot of changes in a short time frame. So we're keeping a close eye on that. We're looking for the possibility of like a rain or rain-snow mix later today, this evening hours, maybe during the afternoon commute. Keeping a really close eye on overnight and how low those temperatures dip and what type of conditions we might expect tomorrow morning for tomorrow morning's commute. And that's kind of our biggest concern right now is how does this actually develop and how far east and south does this front actually come and impact us?
And what preparations has the city already made, in light of the expected weather?
Yeah, so Public Works has been out and about, keeping an eye on the roadways, monitoring the current conditions, trying to forecast what impacts we might have with freezing temperatures and pre-treating roadways where they can. Bridges and overpasses are always a concern. They do a great job starting about a month ago or so with Frost Patrol getting out when temperatures dip below a certain one to pre-treat roadways and keep an eye on those overpasses. So they're out and they're ready to go. Our totals seem to be less than an inch around there. So not a whole lot of moving snow we can do, but a lot of pre-treatment and preparation ahead of time to try to prevent it from sticking on the roadways.
You kind of touched on it there, but are there any ongoing or, actions that still need to be taken, that are kind of on standby, I guess?
No, right now it's just waiting to see how it shifts, and we'll adjust as needed, but it's a couple hours out from when it's supposed to start. So we've Frost Patrol's been out. We've been just monitor from here. We've got extra crews on standby if the winds pick up or there's any trees down or something like that. So our crews are prepped and ready to go and kind of see what the weather takes us from here.
And what do you all think the likelihood is of outages in the area? I mean, have you all been coordinating with Dominion Energy at all, or?
Yeah, we have a close partnership with Dominion. We talk to them almost daily, throughout their organization. We're partnered really close with them there. So we're in communication. It's a rainy, windy day, even if we don't get the winter weather with it. So keeping an eye on probably isolated power outages, tree branches falling, taking out some lines, stuff like that. And then we'll communicate critical needs from there with them. But they communicate well to let us know impacts and estimated restoration times. I know they're prepped and ready to go. So, we'll just respond from there as we see what happens.
I know you said you all are, in contact with Dominion Energy regularly, just staying prepared for outages. How do you all advise residents to, who might experience outages, throughout today and tomorrow maybe?
Yeah, first, if you experience an outage, report it to Dominion Power. Let them know. They're pretty good about monitoring their system. They probably know, but definitely call their number and report it. You can also report it online, I'm pretty sure. If you need help with that, you can always call 311 and they can direct you there. But reporting it directly to Dominion Power's portal is the best. Just let them know you're out without power and they can help give you estimated restoration times from there. And really just be prepared, if you have flashlights and batteries and, kind of have that backup plan. If I don't have power and my devices, can I play board games, or what do I have for keeping my kids entertained, homework, etc. And, so you're not surprised.
Okay. And I assume that city communication, I assume that would go the same for VDOT as well?
Yep. We communicate with VDOT, they that's pretty well spelled out what they treat and take care of and what the city does. But we're always communicating with them. Our public safety first responders, work closely with VDOT every day for incidents on the highways and state roads. So we're always communicating with them, communicating up with the state, kind of monitoring across. We're communicating across the region with our neighboring cities, and the schools, just keeping an eye on what they might need and kind of their status and ours, so we can prepare for our workforce that lives and visitors that live across Hampton roads. We know that they're going to have to commute through other localities too, so keeping an eye on what conditions they might experience there.
Okay. And are there by any chance, any city facilities or services that may be operating on a modified schedule over today and tomorrow because of the weather?
Right now, everything is normal operations in the city of Virginia Beach. We're going to continue monitoring throughout the day, and then later today, as the forecast kind of stabilizes and we see the system really move in, we'll make any determination for tomorrow or later today from there. But right now, it's just normal operations for today, and we'll continue to monitor and see what changes might be needed.
Okay. And looking at the expected weather, what would you say is maybe the biggest risk to residents?
Really, just don't rush home tonight, whether it's rain, snow mix. Take your time. It's going to be a guaranteed to be a rainy, windy day. So just don't rush. Give yourself some extra time to get home. It's probably going to be a busy traffic day just with the rain and the wind. So take your time. Don't rush. Be patient with others, and if you do see first responders or emergency responders out on the roadway, slow down, move over, give them room to work, and follow their directions as you make your way home, and everybody will get home a little safer.
Traveling, are there any areas that drivers should avoid? Any areas that you all might be expecting effects more so than others, or?
No, we're watching citywide right now. We don't have any specific areas, as always. Especially tomorrow morning. If the temperatures drop, and then depending on the type of precipitation we have, we're going to pre-treat as best we can. But always, bridges and overpasses slow down. They ice before regular roadways, so keep an eye out there. It's really just know your community and slow down and keep an eye on the weather. It seems to be developing kind of hour by hour at this point. It's an early season winter storm, so lots of variables to factor in, with how warm it's been and the precipitation type being with us on the line. So it's really just keep watching the forecast, take your time and make good decisions.
Okay. And just sort of in summary here, are there what sort of general tips are you all sort of providing to Virginia Beach residents, just out of caution for, the weather today and tomorrow?
It's monitor the forecast from reliable source, local media or National Weather Service. Keep a close eye on that throughout the day. Make plans ahead of time for travel. Schools, have their own decisions to make about after-school activities or early, modified releases and extensions. So make sure you're monitoring your students and child's, schedule, and then really just be prepared. Take your time, building some extra time in the morning and tonight, getting home. Not that rush. And being able to kind of gauge your travel time so you don't have to be in a rush. And then it's going to be a rainy, windy day regardless. So, stay in tonight. Don't, if you don't have to be outside, don't be outside regardless with the weather, and help ease up some of those roadways and everything.
All right, back here in the Live Impact studio, we've now heard from officials with VDOT and the Director of Emergency Management for Virginia Beach, and the Director of Emergency Management talking about VDOT as well in his interview. Let's now go to some of the VDOT cameras that are up here. These are various sort of I guess they're very similar to our tower cams, really, is that they're cameras located all throughout the Hampton Roads area, and I guess all throughout Virginia, where you can get a look at the traffic situation in a number of different areas. And, Naya, I'm wondering if we can take full screen some of the traffic looks that we've got here. Yeah, we are, this is 511. This is our own Marta Berglund, our traffic reporter, uses this resource quite a bit. but we are still getting used to it here on Live Impact News. And it looks like there's a maximize button bottom right there, Naya.
Yeah, I see it. I'm trying to find a good camera with some good snow coverage. I'm looking in Hampton and Newport News since that's where it seems like it's snowing the most
And
right
the
now.
Peninsula is where we've seen the most snowfall so far, especially in our live shot with Brianna Fallon, who was out by
looks like
Warwick
ice.
Boulevard. What was that, Naya?
That looks like ice on the camera on that one.
Okay, go ahead. Well, we can probably, let's pull up one of these just to see what kind of look we can get. Oh, wow. That is a camera that is covered in snow. So on the bottom right, you can see there is a little sort of hole there where you can see through and you can still see the snowfall. But just the fact that the camera is covered in snow, I guess gives you an idea of what they're working with out there in Hampton on, I believe, Coliseum Drive. I can just barely read that sign. That is Coliseum Drive out there by the Hampton Coliseum. Enough snowfall to where either there was a fortuitous flake that just stuck right on the lens, or it is so snowy out there at this point that it's kind of just our image kind of got obscured. Okay, where are we looking at here? This is once again in Hampton.
This is Mercury Boulevard and King Street.
Mercury Boulevard and King Street out in Hampton. And again, so in the middle there, that, what do you call it? The median.
The median.
Right?
Oh.
I do believe that's grass.
Yeah.
And it looks like it is no longer green because the snow is starting to accumulate in the median there. And we kind of have a layer of snowfall out there on Mercury Boulevard in Hampton. And then, of course, in front of the lens, the snow is just swirling. I mean, but the roads do look clear. They look damp, and obviously it's very cold out. They could, I mean, you need to be really careful about slippage on a day like today, about slick roadways. I mean, that is something to keep a very close eye out for. Leave a lot of space between you and the cars in front of you. Because it is freezing out there and there is precipitation falling throughout our viewing area. In some places, like up in Hampton, it is snow. And in Suffolk, it even is flurrying a little bit. And then even in Virginia Beach, it's still mostly rain, but it is very, very wet out there and it is very cold. And that combination typically leads to some slippery roadways. Definitely be careful when you're out there. And Naya is continuing to kind of explore our area now and see what kind of images we can get. We have yet to see any major traffic situations.
Yeah, I was just about to say, there doesn't seem to be any.
Well, can we take a wide look at that still, Naya, even though it's not real heavy traffic? Is that a hazard note?
Yeah, this is the HRBT. I'm trying to see if we can get a closer look. I think this might be the closest look that we can get of this.
Okay, so this is out by the HRBT, and again, you can see the accumulation of water on the lens there, but not as snowy in this shot right here, and still quite a bit of cars on the road with our 511's VDOT resource here.
And I'm not sure that warning label was weather related. So
okay, no problem. And if you want to go on this source yourself at any point throughout the day, 511.vdot.virginia.gov, anyone can access this. If you at any point need to check out the traffic situation in somewhere that you may be driving, because again, we are expecting these conditions through the afternoon here, and it's something to keep a sharp eye on. Can we continue to explore, Naya? Are there any other hot spots that we can look at?
yeah.
Or I guess extra cold spots is really what we're exploring here. We've already seen over
Let's
by
go to
Mercury
Norfolk.
Boulevard quite a bit of snow. And let's see, where are we? Are we moving closer to the south side here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look there. Let's take a look at that one right there, Naya. Can we maximize that? Okay, so here, this is on the south side, right? And this is those more coastal south side areas. We told you not as much snowfall is expected, and that is very clear right here. More rainy conditions and maybe wintry mixes, but inland coastal areas, we're expecting more of the flurries and the snow. Those coastal areas, especially south side, we're expecting it to be more rainy. And I believe this is over by Harbor Park, is on the left there. This is near downtown Norfolk. You can see the Bank of America building off in the distance there. Okay, so this is downtown Norfolk area right here. And as you can see, very rainy, very overcast, doesn't quite have the same full-on snowfall. But can we do this, Naya? Can we go from this straight over to our Nauticus cam? And we're actually going to see this similar viewpoint from the other side and a little bit closer up. So what you're looking at right here is, you know, the other side of this viewpoint that Naya just pulled up. Those were cars that are approaching the waterside area. This is from the opposite side of that waterside area. And as you can see, it does, you know, it is that wintry mix, really. And oh, great. Okay, we got the side-by-side up here. And from this viewpoint, Naya loves it when I get surprised by the new looks and the new angles and the side-by-sides. But this is perfect, Naya, because it gives you a sense of the fact that this camera's a little higher up. It doesn't have as many objects close to the frame. It's got a lot more depth of field if you look at the 511 camera. And so it may deceive you a little bit into thinking that it is not as kind of wet and gross outside as maybe it actually is. Whereas if you look at this image on the left, which is our tower cam, which is over kind of near Town Point Park, you can see that there is certainly precipitation coming down, and that it is not just rain. I mean, it does have sort of that snowy element to it. And so, we want to give you a look at every single different camera that we can, and we want to make sure we keep an eye on those roads to let you know the conditions and the traffic. But sometimes those cameras can make you think, oh, maybe it's not so bad outside, when it is. In fact, definitely a pretty weather-impacted day out there, and that side-by-side comparison, there goes a streak of water just across our lens there. This side-by-side comparison is a great look. And we looked at this Nauticus camera earlier, and there are cranes in the background there. And earlier, you had a clear view of those cranes. We could see right across the water there. And now you look at it, you can barely see those cranes in the background because there is just a sort of swirling precipitation that is coming down that really is very close to snow based on our viewpoint right here. And this is really not far from where we're standing here in Norfolk.
And Connor, do you want to go back out to Hampton? Looks like we're getting some accumulation on the ground.
Of course. Yeah, that's a great call. Yeah, let's take us back out to Hampton. Hampton was the first tower cam where we really started, and wow, look at that. Yeah, I mean, you enjoyed that again, didn't you? This is one of the things about Live Impact News. You're kind of getting our natural reactions as we look through the tower cams at the same time as you guys do. We hope you're enjoying us, the descriptions that we're given here. So this is Hampton, right? And if you look on that left shot, that tower cam, all that area around the tree, obviously there's the water in the foreground, but all that area around the tree is grass, and then, sort of smaller roads, not main roads, but smaller roads around that sort of business district. And that all of that is just covered in snow now. And that simply was not the case an hour ago. An hour ago, that was green, and those roads were very visible. And now that snow has really started to accumulate. And then if you look over to the right, that's also the city of Hampton. And you can kind of see that in that particular image, on the tree to your left, the snow is starting to accumulate. On the ground over there, the snow is starting to accumulate. But the roads, no, not a snow accumulation. That doesn't mean that they're not damp and slippery, but the snow has not started to pile up on the roads just yet. But again, this image to our left is really, this is what we saw from Brianna Fallon's live shot at the top of the show. Is that heavy snowfall, and it was the first image that we took in our live stream was Brianna Fallon out by Warwick Boulevard, and the snow was quite heavy, and she said it had been for some time. And then we've kind of gone around and we've seen different variations of that, but we come all the way back to the peninsula here as we're nearing the hour mark of our stream, and there you have a very, very full-on snowfall out there in Hampton, where it is building up on the ground. You can see, decently sized flakes, I guess you could call them, kind of falling right in front of our lens. And we want to remind everybody we are going to have a meteorologist in studio here very soon. As you can imagine, our weather team is hard at work today. We've had Taylor Stephenson all morning, Tim Pandagis is here. Evan Stewart is here. They are working incredibly hard to get the most up-to-date, accurate, and informative forecast that they can. And but in between doing so, we are going to have a meteorologist here with us on Live Impact News to give you a full forecast for our entire area and sort of let you know what we've seen so far and what we expect to see. So stay tuned. We are going to have a forecast here on Live Impact, but for now, we'll continue to monitor our area because that image in Hampton is really something else. I mean, that snow is coming down in sort of full effect out there. And again, this all happened, we had on Friday, we had a very similar observation of those wintry weather conditions. We go through a relatively clear weekend, and then come Monday, here we are again with snowy conditions, and it's just December 8th. And we said from December 1st, it has been an incredibly below average winter in terms of temperatures here in Hampton Roads. But for the time being, that does not appear to be changing anytime soon as we work through our Monday of weather impact alert status here on Live Impact News. Now, is there anywhere else that you want to go here in terms of the live cams, Naya? That was a great shot out in Hampton. We've got the main tower cam to the right, that right corner one that is not a great image, but does give a sense of just how clouded it is. I don't know if that's worth showing because you can barely make out the imagery, but that's kind of the point. So there it is, and it is so obscured.
Well, you can see the top of that building. Is that snow?
Over on the left, you can see the top of that building. I don't know if that's snow or not. That may just be the color of the material. So I don't want to say for sure, but you might be onto something there. And then in terms of the shot itself, I mean, you can see a little bit if you squint. Sort of, you can make out that landmass right there through the fog, but this is just giving you a sense of how overcast it is, cloudy, flurries, and the way the wind is blowing, it almost seems as though the snow is coming from directly behind our camera and then drifting out into the foreground. If you kind of look right by that Live Impact News ticker, that on 13 News Now Plus ticker, you can sort of see the vortex of snow that's flowing out into the image there, and everything is just obscured. I mean, this really gives you a great sense in terms of some of our areas of just how nasty it is out there, really. I mean, it's one of those days where it is cold and rainy and wet and overcast, and it is just nasty. We've been experiencing that, though. Again, it's been a while since we had some consistent sunshine. We were granted with quite a bit earlier in the year, but it has certainly turned gloomy here for a semi-extended period of time in Hampton Roads. So that is a heavily obscured tower cam. Let's do one more check back into Virginia Beach, because Virginia Beach just does remain very rainy. We've even seen what we consider to be wintry mixed flurries right here in Norfolk. I mean, we went to that Nauticus cam, and it really was kind of a mixture, but we go out to Virginia Beach, and it remains just very, very much rainy, and there we have some people on our tower cam braving the conditions to come take a look. And, if you can kind of get past the wet and the cold, like you said, Nia, you get a pretty cool shot of a very active ocean.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's certainly a lot going on out there in terms of, you can see sort of 2 layers of waves, and they're certainly taking pictures of something here. Something caught their eye. They ran over there to grab a couple pictures. Shout out to them for a starring turn here on Live Impact News.
I know it's just even colder out there by the water. They're better than me because I would be out there just shivering, standing in place.
Yeah, like it usually, once you get closer to the water, it is a little chilly, but I think it looks like they bundled up pretty well. Maybe they were watching Live Impact News. They saw Emily Harrison say, hey, you got to make sure that you get a bunch of clothes on here, gloves, hats, and all that good stuff. But it is interesting that Eastern Shore, downtown Norfolk, Hampton, we're seeing real snow flurries in all those different places. And then you get down to Virginia Beach, it's still just rain. Yeah. And that's something that our weather team has talked about continuously, is that those coastal areas, especially further south, are likely to more so experience rain than any amount of snow. So that's something that we're seeing bearing out here when it comes to looking through our tower cams. But again, even downtown Norfolk is really showing that snowfall there. And it looks like, now, okay, if you're looking at the image of the ocean front, and you look down at the bottom of the screen towards the left, that trash can directly next to the person walking, you see the bag blowing. You see how harshly the trash bag is blowing. That gives you a sense of the wind out there. I know we don't have a ton of stuff that can kind of let you know that. There's no trees in this shot. But if you look at that trash bag, I mean, it is blowing vigorously in the wind. And that can kind of let you know just how windy it is out there in Virginia Beach. So no shortage of conditions, even in the areas without the snow. And, you know, I say that, and I know there's a lot of people at home who are probably saying, well, if you want to know how windy it is, just look at those waves. And they're absolutely right. I mean, waves crashing down onto the sand there. Now we get closer and they do look a little calmer. But remember, this tower cam is really high up. You like that, Naya? How I had to correct real quick.
I mean, it's still the same thing that you were saying. It's just you're getting a closer view, and so it's going to look a little different.
Yeah. So that's a look out at our white cap filled shoreline in the midst of this storm. And every camera now certainly does have a lot of precipitation that's gathered on the lens. Now, our meteorologist is getting ready to go. We do have a live view on Channel 1 of Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with the United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. They just emerged and said hello very briefly there. I was wondering if maybe that would be worth taking, though it looks as though they've kind of retreated back into that room there for a meeting of sorts. You can see the flags. Oh, and we lost the shot right as we look to make our way out there. Now, another live event that's been going on for some time, we do have First Lady Melania Trump participating in a Toys for Tots charity drive. We can take a brief look at Channel 2 here, as there you can see the First Lady interacting with kids, and Santa is there at that event, and you can see military personnel in the background as well. So a Toys for Tots event happening today that the First Lady Melania Trump is participating in. So we do still have some live events that we're keeping an eye on, but for us here, really, it's all about the weather today in Hampton Roads, and for good reason, as we kind of have looked around now and seen our live reports from our reporters have shown us snow on the ground. Our tower cam has showed us plenty of snow falling from the sky, and then our weather impact interceptor is getting ready to head out as well. So we're going to have one of our own vehicles driving around that we'll be able to take some shots of to show you how things are a little closer to the roads once we get that thing out on the road with Derek Lytle, one of our reporters, and Luca Pfeiffer, one of our photographers, taking out that weather impact interceptor. Let's listen live to this event here with Melania Trump, see if there's anything we can kind of gather from a live listen. At least we can get a sense of sort of the vibe out there. So let's listen in for now, and then we'll get back here. We'll dive a little deeper into the weather.
So what we're seeing right now is a refeed. So I can play when she spoke earlier.
Okay, so this is a refeed. Thanks. Once again, I said at the top of the show, the only reason that we're able to stay on track is because the People's producer, Nia Campbell, consistently keeps us on track. And again, she kind of proves that is the case. Okay, so we've got the refeed going here with First Lady Melania Trump. So instead, we're going to play her comments from the Toys for Tots charity drive earlier today. And then we're going to get back here. We're going to dive deeper into the weather with a full forecast when we return to Live Impact News.
Toys for Tots, led by United States Marine Corps Reserve. For more than 75 years, Marines and volunteers across America collect and deliver new toys to children who need a little extra joy during Christmas, all wrapped with love and great care. To everyone here at Quantico and all those who support the Toys for Tots Foundation, thank you. This includes the Toy Association's generous support. I'm grateful for your partnership and dedication to promoting fun and creativity. You help bring the delight of Christmas morning to millions of children, and you remind us all that American tradition, kindness, and love remain among our most powerful. To the families of military personnel, you are the heart of today's celebration. Your strength in the face of the adversity is inspirational. Some of the children here today have a parent stationed away from home right now. I know this can be difficult. On behalf of our nation, thank you. And thank you to the parents and guardians who are here today. Your support and resilience empower our Marines to serve with honor and distinction. Whether near or far, you illuminate every occasion, enriching everyone's life. This Christmas season, you, your friends, and your families should wish for the ultimate gift, love. After all, love travels further than Santa's sleigh and American ospreys. Thank you, and Merry Christmas, and happy and healthy New Year. Thank you.
All right, so it is a party out there at the Toys for Tots Drive with First Lady Melania Trump. That's something that we've kind of been seeing all day today as the Christmas spirit continues to roll on. And for a lot of people, part of that Christmas spirit, part of that holiday sense is, in fact, snowy winter wonderland-esque days like today. I don't know if you can call this that. I think it is that way in some places. There's a delicate snowfall. In others, it's that slushy, wintry mix. And in others, it's just very cold rain. But I think far better than me to break all of that down is meteorologist Evan Stewart, who is here with us in studio. Evan, how is everything with you? Number one, you're not as close to us as usual, but all the better on a weather impact alert day.
In front of the green screen, I can move this out of the way just a little bit so you can see sort of what's been going on as we have gone through the day today. You know, we had the rain start to move in as we went through this morning, and then we started to see, that snow start to fill in and work its way down. And that's what we've seen here as we've gone through this afternoon is that colder air has been filtering in, and that's been pushing, again, this cold air is pushing that rain snow line a little bit farther and farther off towards the south, and that will continue to be the case through this afternoon. Now, northeastern North Carolina right through Virginia Beach might not get nearly as much because that rain snow line, again, is just off towards the north and just a little bit too warm right near the water. We'll take a look at some of those temperatures around the area here coming up, but you can see, again, that rain snow line right along the state line, and where we see some of these darker blues, that's some heavier snow that is coming down. I know you've been looking at all of those Skyview cameras around the area, and we've been seeing that heavier snow coming down here across the peninsula, and a few of these lighter showers down through the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So let's actually, I'm going to go back, and we'll take a look at the radar a little bit more, zoom into some of the areas. First, I do want to talk about the temperatures out there because we are looking at readings that have been dropping. We're now down to 34 degrees at Norfolk International Airport. And that was, earlier when we were seeing this, we were up to around 40 degrees this morning, and we've seen these temperatures fall down across the peninsula as well. We're now down to 32 in Newport News, 33 in Hampton, and 41 towards Elizabeth City, and 41 in Edenton. So it's, again, Virginia Beach 37. So that's why we're still seeing the rain along the coastline, but we are seeing, again, the snow through other parts of Hampton Roads. And as we get back to the radar, we'll zoom into a couple of areas here across the peninsula, again, where we see this darker blue. That's the heavier snow here from Pocosin to Grafton, Menchville, back towards Homewood, and you can see just some lighter snow amounts down towards the east end of Newport News. And then we have some heavier snows, as we get up closer to the Williamsburg area. We do have some of our cameras out there. This is downtown Norfolk right now. This is our camera on top of Nauticus, and you can see the snow is coming down pretty good there at Nauticus. Virginia Beach, which we've been checking on. Look, again, it's just rain out there. And I know earlier that Connor, you were talking about how you could see like a bag blowing around. You can also almost sort of see the raindrops blowing along the camera lens. Just another indication that it is windy there along the Virginia Beach ocean front. There's one of the other cameras there in Virginia Beach. This is also in Virginia Beach at the Westin, and still looking like mainly raindrops out there. Camera shaking around just a little bit because this one is up higher and it is a windy area as we head up towards Newport News. Our LFCU camera there, and they just put the tree up and just had the tree lighting, and now you can see the snow is coming down pretty good, and it is sticking to the roads. You can see right in there. You can see some of that along the roads and then right around the pond there. So we are seeing, some issues on the roads. I know that we will have Cheryl Nelson in on the newscast, and we'll talk about, some of the traffic issues that are out there coming up at 4 o'clock. This is the Jordan Bridge, and here in, between Chesapeake and Portsmouth, mainly looking at rain, not looking too bad. You can see some snowflakes, but we're not seeing anything that is sticking out on the road. So let's time out the rest of this evening here with Futurecast. Still by 6 o'clock, temperatures, 35 in Virginia Beach. We might see that switch over and that change over to snow through Virginia Beach and even down towards Elizabeth City and Edenton here as we go through the evening. And things really winding down. The precipitation, whether it be rain or snow, for most of it will be snow, coming to an end, early this evening. But then our next concern is tomorrow morning. Temperatures in the 20s. We're talking low 20s. Inland spots down to 21 in Richmond and Emporia, 31 in Norfolk, and that could cause issues on the roads tomorrow morning. I would not be surprised if we had some more school delays or school closings, especially in some of the areas that pick up the snow, because with temperatures down into the 20s overnight, that snow is just going to stick to the roads. It's going to refreeze if any of it tries to melt, and that could lead to some areas of black ice as we go into tomorrow morning. The good news, by the afternoon, temperatures do warm up a bit, get up into the upper 30s to around 40 degrees, but it is still going to be a cold afternoon tomorrow as we see this storm system finally starting to pull off towards the east. Questions, Connor?
Yes. Okay. Evan, first of all, thank you so much. That was an excellent forecast. We've been looking forward to that today as we kind of have explored everything. Now, you said you noted in the image that you saw in Hampton that the snow was starting to stick to the roads a little bit. Out there on the peninsula, is that something you anticipate being a sort of a consistent issue? Is that snow sticking down on those roads?
Yeah, so that was at our LFCU camera there at Oyster Point. And again, you can see in there that there is a little bit of that snow that, is on the roads. And, this is right through the Peninsula Town Center there, Oyster Point. And so, there's not a lot of people out there now. But, I do think that the secondary roads, there'll be some issues as we get a little bit farther up towards Williamsburg. Probably some issues there as well. And let's see, I can pull up, let's check out Kill Devil Hills real quick. And obviously no snow there, but I do have some Williamsburg cameras that I can call up, and we can see what it's looking like up towards Williamsburg.
James City County, we know, is expected to get a good amount of snow. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so this is, Duke of Gloucester Street. So this is looking over towards the King's Arms Tavern. And again, you can see the sidewalks there and a little bit on Duke of Gloucester Street. So
Yeah, there's little tables over there.
Yeah.
All the surfaces kind of sort of has a nice blanket on them. But then the road, you can tell that it's trying to accumulate, but it's not quite creating that full blanket that we see on the other parts of the camera there.
And I'm just changing the image so the banner might not exactly match, even though this is still Duke of Gloucester Street. This is the Capitol cam, so this is on top of the Capitol building looking down Duke of Gloucester Street, and you can see the snow that is coming down there. Let's see, as we take a look up at the courthouse, that's an old image, obviously, so that hasn't been updated. Let's take a look at the Market House. That one is down. As we take a look at the Art Museum, so there, look, can see a little bit on the roads, a little bit of slush. So yeah, and that's what we're concerned about as we get down into the 20s later tonight, is that could refreeze and become slick. So as you're trying to make a three-point turn there,
Certainly.
it would certainly be slick.
And even on top of those cars, you can see, I mean, that first car, a healthy amount of snow up on the roof of that car there. So definitely, and I mean, that's kind of a thick layer even on the roof of those buildings there. I mean, that's a healthy amount of snowfall that has come down thus far this afternoon over there by William and Mary, it looks like.
All right, and let's see, I've got a time lapse here, so this kind of takes us through this morning. And again, 7 o'clock, no issues, started as rain as we had expected. Then we started to see that changeover. Let's see if we can, around 11 o'clock, 11:30, and you can really start to see it, building up a little bit on the roads there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw from Emily Harrison in Suffolk. She was kind of standing out there doing a live shot, and as she was out there doing a live shot with us, she talked us through the transition that kind of occurred from rain into that more wintry mix, into that more snow flurry. And this area we know gets absolutely blanketed. We've been talking about this area quite a bit today over by Oyster Point.
Yeah, so here you can kind of see how, as we've gone through the morning, started out as rain. Here around noonish, a little bit after, we started to see that changeover.
Wow.
And you can just see how quickly, I'll back that up a little bit because, here it is 2:17. As we go back, that's just been in an hour. So this is 1 o'clock. We just really started to see that changeover. So just in a matter of an hour, you can see how quickly it started to accumulate. Let's see if we've got any snowfall reports in the area coming in.
And while you look at that, can I ask another question, Evan?
Yes.
What we saw in Hampton, what we see there in Williamsburg, all of that, very much something that we are keeping our eye on, that we expected. And then what we saw in Virginia Beach, again, more rainy, I expect. Nauticus had a pretty healthy snowfall and still does. Is that something that surprised you at all? Did you expect that to be closer to the sort of flurries that we're seeing or closer to the rainy or Virginia Beach conditions?
We expected to see, the snow coming in, that changeover to coastal areas. Yeah, we were expecting to get that changeover. And here's a snow report from Ponds, just as of 10, 11 minutes ago, 2.5 inches. Wakefield, National Weather Service, 1.8 inches in the last hour, up to 2.5. So we are getting some accumulating snows there, and estimated 2 foot up near Lightfoot. So I mean, there's going to be an area in here that likely sees 3 or 4 inches of snow, and that's why we had that winter storm warning.
And that same area got quite a bit of snow last week as well.
That's right. So here these areas in the pink. So that includes James City County, Williamsburg, York County, Isle of Wight County, Southampton, Surrey, Sussex, and back towards Richmond under that winter storm warning, while the rest of us are under winter weather advisories, with the exception here of the Outer Banks of Currituck County and Dare County, not under any kind of weather advisories.
Okay, so again, our weather team hard at work. They, when I came in this morning, this was the exact report that I got. A lot of what we're seeing is kind of exactly what we've been getting from you guys in terms of that that coastal sort of cold rain, and then maybe even a mixture in some of those areas. And then once you get up to the Peninsula and Williamsburg area, you're seeing some real snowfall. Can we talk about the near future a little bit? How long do you expect the precipitation to continue? And then what can we expect after that? I know you touched on it a bit, but just to reemphasize.
Right, so even here at 6 o'clock, we'll still have some snow in the area. And that's one of the concerns is with that evening commute. That's why Cheryl's coming in. They'll give us some traffic updates as well that, a lot of places have closed early, so we know that. Mm-hmm. And, that's the concern for the school administrators is if you have the kids that are in school and then you're sending them home when the snow is coming down, and as we've seen up in Newport News, it's sticking on the roadways in spots. You don't want to put the kids and the bus drivers and everybody else in a precarious situation. So we had a lot of those early dismissals today. But even at 6 o'clock, we'll still have some snow across the area, probably even towards Virginia Beach. 35 degrees, might not see much sticking on the roads, but we're 32 Chesapeake, 33 in Norfolk and Hampton. So we'll see some slick spots on the roadways this evening. And as we advance, you can see by 11 o'clock things really winding down, but that's when the cold air moves in, and that's why we're concerned tomorrow morning about the possibility of some slick spots on the roadways. So we do have a weather impact alert. This is breaking here on Live Impact News that we do have a weather impact alert for tomorrow morning because of the issue of some slick spots out on the roadways tomorrow morning. So that is an issue 41 into the afternoon. So it's still going to be another cold day tomorrow. A little bit of a warm up here on Wednesday, 53. We're back into the 40s and then even the 30s as we head into early next week, next Monday, looking at a temperature of 38 degrees.
Okay, so first of all, the weather impact alert for tomorrow, that is the first that we've been able to report that here, as you said, on Live Impact News. So important for everybody to kind of lock in on that very quickly. A weather impact alert for tomorrow due to the sort of residual conditions that are coming from the precipitation that we're seeing today. And it's those roadways that you guys are really worried about, that ice, the slick roadways. And then on Wednesday, I guess it only feels like a jump because of these 2 days, but there is a little jump there. We're back up to 53, the highs at least, come Wednesday, and then things are relatively clear through until Sunday, it looks like.
Yeah, that's right. And then, then another drop in temperatures as we head into early next week.
All right.
We're back down into the 30s. By Monday, and keep in mind, even that 53 is warm as it's going to feel. Mm-hmm. Our normal is 56.
Right. We certainly continue to be well below average here in December. The month of December has come in, I think, almost every day. Is that fair? Has it been every day has been below the normal average temps or close to it so far in December, Evan?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the graphic here. It'll take me a minute because I haven't really set it up yet for the month of December, but I can do that here real quick, and we'll be able to, see kind of what the month has brought us.
Mm-hmm. And that November was a little bit closer to normal, I believe, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, we were only just a little bit below average for the month of November.
And then once we get to December, it really starts to drop well below average. And, while you pull that up, Evan, Naya was asking me, living here, being from here, how abnormal this is for this much snow in early December. And I told her, is it abnormal? Definitely, but being prepared for anything from November to March is kind of the MO here in Hampton Roads. Right. You could easily get a day in early December where you're wearing shorts to work, or you could get a day where you've got kind of flurries of snow. Is that an accurate assessment? Definitely more on the rare side, but not completely without precedent.
Yeah, it's fairly rare to get this kind of snow this early. This is our third bout of snow. We had some on the 11th of November, which we got 2 tenths of an inch at Norfolk International. That tied us for the earliest measurable snow at Norfolk International Airport, and then again on Friday we had snow. So it's unusual to get accumulating snow, and we've had more snow than some other spots in the United States that typically see snow. So here's the month of December, and last Tuesday we were exactly average 58 degrees. These are the afternoon highs. But every other day we've been in the 40s. And yesterday we only got up to 41 degrees. So definitely a cold start to the month of December.
No doubt about it. A very, very chilly early winter season for us here, or meteorological winter at least, here in Hampton Roads. Okay, is there anything else we need to know, Evan, about this particular day when it comes to the forecast? You've told us how long this is going to last, you've told us the areas, and then most importantly, maybe you've told us about tomorrow's weather impact alert, which was new news for us here on Live Impact News. What else do we need to know? Anything major?
Right, just that we're going to continue to see that rain-snow line working its way eastward as we go here over the next few hours. And, the big concern will be, once the sun sets and these temperatures, even by 9 o'clock, we're down into the 20s. Mm-hmm. So that is cold enough to start to get some of the slush freezing on the roadways. So I think that's the big takeaway is going into tomorrow. Tomorrow morning when we're down, into the low 20s in inland spots. Some spots might be down into the teens tomorrow morning. The issues out on the roadways tomorrow with some of that slush and freezing.
Oh, caution, caution, caution on the roads, no matter where you are. Like we said, you even said that we might see that wintry mix in Virginia Beach, even some of those flurries could be, even in those coastal areas, you're still going to see some very, very cold precipitation. So be careful out there. Evan, we know you have a ton of work to do. We really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us in here today for the forecast. Anything else that we need to know?
No, I was just checking a couple more of the cameras. Again, this is at the DQ at 17th and Atlantic. Again, we're mainly just seeing rain there. And let's see, I know one of these was the Weston. So that's Norfolk again. Let's see. Well, that's...
We were focused on that one earlier. It's actually cleared up a little bit.
Yeah.
It was even more obscure just about 30 or 40 minutes ago.
And, this is back at the, the Jordan Bridge between Chesapeake and Portsmouth, and maybe, it's hard to tell. I don't think it's quite sticking to the roads yet. Mm-hmm. There's quite a bit of traffic there, but certainly it is wet there and the snow is coming down.
The snow is almost coming in directly sideways in that particular shot right there, just kind of zooming past our tower cam.
And this is our tower cam here at the station looking over towards Naval Medical Center Portsmouth. And again, cloudy and gray, and we've got that reduced visibility out there, so we've been seeing that. As far as the winds, I know we were talking a little bit earlier about the winds. We've got wind gusts 40 miles per hour, 31 in Virginia Beach, 32, so you go outside and it feels even colder than what the air temperature is. So that's giving you a bit of a wind chill out there as well. So we've got these gusty winds.
And that's always something you need to keep an eye out for. You look at those temperatures, you think, oh, this is manageable. But then you get out there, that wind and that precipitation starts to hit you, and it suddenly gets a lot colder, a lot quicker outside.
Norfolk's bumped up a couple of degrees to 35. We're still holding at freezing in Newport News, 33 in Hampton.
Yep, very good, very good. Well, Evan, we appreciate you coming through and hanging out with us here a little bit, and we hope that everyone kind of heeds those warnings that our weather team is throwing out there. You can see more of Evan Stewart 4 o'clock p.m. on 13 News Now. I will be there as well, and he will dive even deeper into our forecast. He'll give any updates, and he'll give an overview of what we've seen so far today as well. Evan, you're the best. We appreciate you kind of escaping from the amount of work that you guys have to do today to come out here and talk to us for a little bit.
Yeah, my pleasure, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, see you soon. Thank you. Evan Stewart, as always, one of our favorite guests here on Live Impact News. Very thorough in his forecast and always kind of relating it back to what you need to know as someone who is trying to go about your daily activities here in Hampton Roads. Now, we do have another special guest that we're getting ready to welcome into the studio. Chris Jones from Norfolk International Airport is going to be here with us, but that's something we are still getting set up from a technical perspective. So I think maybe what we can do right now, Naya, is Washington, D.C. city officials held a lengthy press conference earlier today speaking about some of their accomplishments from this year. Just 3 hours and change north of us, Washington, D.C. So they've also been in the news quite a bit with the National Guard occupying the first city that the National Guard went into to, as President Donald Trump said, to try and help control crime. And of course, just recently, two National Guard members shot in Washington, D.C. in a targeted attack. In a very, very tragic situation that we actually reported on live here on this platform. One of those National Guardsmen actually has passed away. And so Washington, D.C. very much in the news, and Washington, D.C. elected officials giving a press conference earlier today. And we're going to go ahead and listen in on that for just a little bit. We're going to get Norfolk International Airport's Chris Jones set up in here. We're going to talk weather with him, but we're going to talk a lot of other things happening at the airport as well. And, of course, we're going to continue to monitor the conditions outside. We actually have our weather vehicle on the road right now. We can kind of see it from where we stand. So we'll take a look at conditions actually on the ground, on the road. But for now, let's throw it over to officials in Washington, D.C.
And as we look to the future, we are looking to push for additional measures that are designed to stabilize and strengthen our housing ecosystem, because affordable housing is among the district's and this administration's top priorities. Of course, the reason why the district has been a national leader in affordable housing is because of the mayor's $1.4 billion over the last decade, and that has helped us add more than 15,000 new affordable homes citywide. The mayor had made the promise that our government would be a consistent and predictable financial partner, and the $100 million plus that the mayor's put into the Housing Production Trust Fund every year has been at the core of this policy priority. We also set bold housing goals to guide our vision, including neighborhood-specific goals that would drive housing production across the city. This fall, we welcomed residents, for example, into the Louise Senior Apartments, our first HPTF-supported project west of Rock Creek Park. The best way to blunt rising cost of housing is to build more housing. All types of housing across every parts of the income spectrum. And so we saw a lot of innovation over the past 10 years and in 2025 alone. At Buzzard Point, the stacks are delivering more than 1,100 new homes for DC residents, and it's in a mixed use and mixed income neighborhood. That development didn't happen by accident. It took shape after the district made catalytic investments at Audi Field, and that has transformed that sports anchored, I'll come back to that, stadium has transformed this part of the city, Buzzards Point. We also opened Mary Center, DC's first dedicated LGBTQ plus affirming communal living space for seniors. In Anacostia, we cut the ribbon on the first Anna Townhomes, a DEMPED project that created new affordable transit adjacent home ownership opportunities. And just down the road, we opened projects at the Bridge District and Berry Farms that are delivering housing and amenities to Ward 8.
And another example of innovative housing, but in the human services space, is the opening of the E Street Bridge Housing Apartments. We opened this in October, and it represents the second non-concrete bridge housing program we have, building on the success of the Aston and the Foggy Bottom area. This is a critical part of how we drive down homelessness and drive down our unsheltered population. So what makes this unique? Well, first, it's an apartment building. It's not low barrier shelter. The apartments are designed to accommodate those who are unsheltered. The vast majority of the people who reside in these apartments came right from encampments and right from the street. Services such as mental health services, substance abuse services are located on site. No one has to go anywhere. And it blends into the community in which most members of the community don't actually know that the majority of the folks in that building actually were unsheltered before they came in. And this allows for us to be able to make an offering of housing to an individual who might not want to go to low barrier shelter, and provides them an opportunity to get stabilized in services to prepare them for long-term housing programs like our permanent supportive housing program. And it's a program that has been vital to driving down our point-in-time count homeless population, as well as a very significant reduction in our encampment population in DC.
Okay. So we started the conversation talking about an unprecedented year and the acceleration of the need to diversify our economy. That means that we identified our high growth industries, and there are a variety of them, but tech is among them and one of our fastest growing. And we'll also talk about sports and entertainment. But back to tech, DC is quickly becoming one of the fastest growing cities for technology in the nation. We have high skilled talent that companies are very attracted to, as well as access to policymakers who are driving investments across the tech industry. We've seen major companies like OpenAI, NVIDIA, Cisco, SpaceX, and others making moves to have a presence here because they recognize not only the talent but also the access that only DC can provide. And so we're strengthening our position as a leader in technology and innovation by attracting jobs and investments that come with it. We're gearing up to deploy our $26 million DC Venture Capital Fund that supports tech startups. We're also looking to leverage that $26 million investment. And the mayor's 26 budget creates new investments, such as our $2.4 million Technology Ecosystem Fund, which is designed to grow technology, the technology network across the city. Which brings us to why also investing in sports, entertainment, and tourism. These sectors are growing. When people come to world-class cities, they're expecting to have world-class experiences. And so we are the sports capital, and that's why we're doubling down on sports. We've seen how stadiums are not only a home for sports, they are also home for concerts and a variety of different events. And so when we think about what the opportunity for a sports arena is to transform an entire neighborhood, we've done it and we're going to do it again. Our ongoing investments in Capital One Arena are in progress. They're delivering state-of-the-art, an urban experience that has anchored downtown as the heart of our city's entertainment center. And the Commander Stadium will anchor 180 acres of mixed-use development along the Anacostia. The power of sports and entertainment is both real and it is underway. And the pride that is felt by our city cannot be underestimated with as early wins as the DC Defenders bringing home the UFL title and our Washington Spirit having made it to the championship match this year. With that?
And as we think about all of this extraordinary economic activity, it is, of course, vital to remember that the youth and children that live in Washington, D.C. have got to be integrated into the new corners of the economy that we are promoting. And we have to ensure that our young people have access to these kinds of chances and these kinds of great new jobs. And there's not a better example of how we're doing that than the brand new Advanced Technical Center that we opened up in Ward 8 this year. This is a place where public high school students come from all over the city, 25 different schools, in order to get college credit, high school credit, access to internships in the health services. This mirrors an Advanced Technical Center that we opened a few years ago in Ward 5, where we have seen young people accumulate thousands of college credits worth over $3 million. And get training in health sciences and cybersecurity.
Okay, there you hear officials in Washington, D.C. touching on a number of topics: investment in entertainment, investment in business, investment in education, really going through a variety of the issues that any city has to tackle and describing some of the ways that Washington, D.C. is doing so as elected officials holding that press conference earlier today. If we have time in Live Impact News, we will go back out and listen in a little bit more on that. Of course, being in such close proximity to the Capitol, a lot of those changes, a lot of those initiatives can have an impact on us here in Hampton Roads. But for now, there's a couple other things we want to touch on. Of course, we have a big weather day today. That's taking up a lot of our time. We do have President Donald Trump speaking at a round table at the White House right now. This is something that we are looking at live. It's also something that we are recording. Pending our order of operations as we move through this particular stream, we may go out live to President Trump at some point. We may take that recording, depending on how long he is live on air for. The reason that we're not going to go out to that right now is because we actually have a very special guest here in the studio. As we teased to you a little bit before that Washington, D.C. press conference, we are joined by the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Norfolk International Airport, Mr. Chris Jones. Mr. Jones, one, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate you joining us. Certainly. Two, I know that you are an experienced sort of veteran of the communications and media industry. This is something you've been doing for a while, but this is your first time here on this platform. You look around a little bit. What do you think?
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I can't say, I interviewed Donald Trump once years ago when I was a journalist, but I can't say I've ever preempted the President of the United States. So it's kind of cool to be able to do that. Thank you for that opportunity.
Of course, very good. Yeah, listen, we got our priorities here.
Awesome.
If we can get Chris Jones from Norfolk International Airport, especially with all of the news that we have been getting about the airport, all of the changes, the expansions, and the growth that we've seen, we want to make sure that we kind of value your time here in the studio. Before we dive into the airport itself, we have what we call a weather impact alert day here at 13 News Now. And we know that you actually drove to Norfolk from Hampton. And we know that up on the peninsula there are some major weather impacts going on. There's quite a bit of snowfall. And then even down here in Norfolk, there is sort of a wintry mix coming down. What did you experience in your commute? I want to start there.
It was a lot slower than I normally would have expected. I had a meeting with a member of the General Assembly this afternoon, and then once that let out, I stopped to grab something to eat. And when I was wrapping up my lunch, I looked out the window. Snowfall started to come down. I thought, all right, I want to get out of here before it starts to stick. Thankfully, for people that are driving right now, it hasn't been sticking, at least based on my experience coming down from the southern end of the peninsula down onto the south side here. It is very rainy, very wet. Coming over the bridge tunnel, seeing the white caps on the water was something that you're not used to seeing as well. So slow going, take it easy. And then I think obviously tonight when things get cooler and maybe some of that precipitation freezes, it may be a little bit more difficult driving, but so far so good today.
And you nailed it. That is exactly. We just had our meteorologist, Evan Stewart, in here, and he talked a lot about the dangers overnight and into tomorrow morning with that cold temperatures continuing and that precipitation on the ground. Very, very important to be cautious on the roads. And then, we want to ask, how does that impact operations at the airport? Has anything changed for you guys over at Norfolk International today?
So far, no. I checked literally right before we came on the air with our operations manager to make sure that there wasn't anything that I had missed, and we're operating normally. I think that's a great thing to know, but also as we move into the night and as you move into this weather event, I think it's always a good advice for people to check on your flight. I always say, people ask, well, what are the average delays or how many flights have been delayed? None of that really matters. What matters is the flight that you care about. If you're picking somebody up or you're planning to fly out, you want to know, is that flight operating on time? Is that flight delayed? Is that flight canceled? Airlines, thankfully, have gotten very good about keeping people abreast of what's going on. So check the app, check your website. If worse comes to worse, come to our website and look, and you can get status there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, that is great advice for travelers. Go ahead and make sure your flight is good to go. And Nia Campbell, our producer here, has pulled up the website over at Norfolk International where you can check on some of those flights and some of those delays. They have arrivals and departures. If you're going there to pick somebody up, of course, you can go and check, and really kind of a user-friendly interface that you have here. It's so easy to go and check, so please do so. Now, when it comes to you guys, when it comes to the work that you guys do at the airport, going into a day like today, what kind of preparations do you take knowing that you could have extreme weather impacts?
We have had experience even earlier this year dealing with some significant snowfall and working on that. And we've got a very experienced team. One of the things that they'll do is they'll start looking at the weather. We'll get alerts that maybe 2-3 days out talking about when a winter event is expected. But our field operations team and our airfield operations teams work very closely together. Got snow plows, you've got the brushes, you've got all the equipment that are there. We even actually built out a few years ago kind of a hotel that has bedding and rooms so that people have to be staying overnight, that they're able to get rest and can work. I used to live in an environment where we never had snow. So last year when we had that snow, or earlier this year, when we had that snow, I got to ride in the snow plows, and I was very, very impressed with the work that they do and the professionalism that they have to get those cleared off so fast.
Yeah, where are you coming from that you didn't have any snow going
Las
on?
Vegas. The snow plan there was for the sun to come out, and,
That's right.
we had to use that once in my time there.
Yeah. So has it been an adjustment getting used to the, especially this December so far, a couple extra layers after coming from that dry Vegas heat?
It's funny. I think I'm the opposite of many people, but the older I get, the more I like the cold. You always hear about people getting old and they move down to Florida or something to get away from the ice and the snow, but I really have come to relish it more. I think coming to Virginia, for me, one of the things that I've liked the most is 4 seasons. You just don't get that in Nevada. It's hot, it's less hot, and it's mildly hot there. Whereas here you get the full 4 seasons experience, which I think is fun.
It can't go outside without melting. Oh, that's your summer, and then
January is when you put the shorts back on. That's Nevada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you like 4 seasons, we're certainly enjoying winter so far this December. Or maybe not enjoying winter, but experiencing winter.
It feels like winter. That's a good thing.
It 100% feels like winter, which is kind of giving you that 4 seasons vibe. Now, when it comes to the airport, for a long time when we talked about air travel this year. It was in relation to the government shutdown and how that was going to impact air travel. And we know that even if our airport in particular was not one of the ones that was on the long list, the airport system is interconnected.
Absolutely.
And so there are going to be impacts at every single aviation station around the country. Do you get the sense that things are back to normal since the reopening of the government?
I think so. I think, we haven't released our November numbers yet, but I think all expectations on the early leading indicators that we have is that the 6-month streak that we had through October of the best month ever, best July ever, best October ever, et cetera, that's not going to continue in November. I think a lot of times planning is travel is such a forward planned activity that people maybe bought tickets for a trip in October back in the summer. They bought them earlier in the year. When October rolled around, they were still going to move forward and take that trip rather than eat that cost. November, we saw a little bit more of a dip, probably related to the shutdown. I think business travelers also, once that list came out where there were thoughts that flights were going to be canceled, once the transportation department ordered and the FAA ordered for flights to be reduced at certain airports, that added a degree of uncertainty that many people, I think, at that point, the discretionary trips became harder to plan for. My wife and I had a trip a couple weeks ago planned, and I remember watching very carefully what was going on with the shutdown because I didn't want to be one of those people that found out all of a sudden, hey, you can't get where you need to go. So I'm grateful. I think we're all grateful at the airport that the shutdown ended and that people are getting back to a sense of normalcy with how they travel.
Yeah, and having, it sounds like maybe just 1 month, but having that 1 month of maybe a little bit of lost business, is that something that, will there be long-term impacts for you guys? Is it something that you'll take any extra initiatives to make up? Or is it, hey, we're built to withstand this, now we move forward?
I think one of the things that people misinterpret sometimes related to airport numbers is it's not entirely within our ability to control. In fact, it's largely outside of our ability to control, whether it's the government shutdown, whether it's economic factors, whether it's decisions that the airlines make to add flights or take flights away. We're really there. And we're going to continue to operate whether we have 50 flights coming in on a day or 65 or 100. We're just going to be there doing our thing. That's one of the challenges that we deal with is that you're susceptible to these outside factors. But long term, we've had 3 consecutive years of record annual travel. Through October, we're on pace to make that a 4th. I think that we will still finish with a 4th record year, even if November might not be as strong as it was last year. Obviously, that remains to be seen, and obviously, we don't know what our December numbers are going to be yet. But we're optimistic. I think earlier in the year, we hoped maybe we might break 5 million for the first time. That won't happen, but we're still on pace to be better than we were in 2024, and that's forward progress.
Okay, very good. So despite impacts from the shutdown, still looking to be a very successful year over at Norfolk International. And with that, you guys have been making a concerted effort to expand and a successful effort to expand. I know the most recent news that we reported on quite heavily was the new nonstop routes to Cancun that are going to be starting up. And I believe there are some other destinations that you're going to be opening up new routes to as well. What are there other destinations? Is there another international route? And then we'll kind of dive into those particular spots.
Sure. So let's start with Cancun. That begins January 10th. Breeze Airways is going to be operating that on Saturdays, at least for the beginning. We hope that will grow to be more than once a week service. Cancun has been our #1 international market for many, many years. So I think there's ready-made demand, and people have taken to that flight very, very clearly and very, very quickly. Just last week, we received word from JetBlue that they were going to be beginning to fly to San Juan in March, which is not outside the United States, not international in the sense it's a U.S. territory, but it is a tropical destination, Caribbean destination. We're very excited about that. We had it in 2024 with a different airline, Frontier. It didn't work quite so well with Frontier, but we're optimistic that JetBlue is going to do better. JetBlue's got a very strong brand down in Puerto Rico, a lot of loyalty both within Puerto Rico and then also from Americans who know that as an airline to get them down there. And it's going to be 4 days a week service, which we think is going to give people a lot of options and flexibility to do that. Okay. We're going to have Kansas City for the first time starting next year with Southwest Airlines. We're excited about that. Similar to St. Louis, it's not going to be on a regular basis. It'll be short-term, seasonal, not every day of the week. But that's kind of how you start. You get these opportunities to come in and to prove one market, and then as they do well, hopefully they add either frequencies, more flights than 1 or 2 or whatever number per week, and then also frequency in terms of the seasonality of it. And that's something that we've seen, 46 destinations as of right now over the course of 2026, you'll be able to fly nonstop from ORF. And that's a phenomenal number of destinations for an airport of this size. If you go back just a few years, they were in the 20s to be able to say how many nonstop markets that you had. So the advent of Breeze, JetBlue came in April of this year with one market. They've added Fort Lauderdale, which actually started flying last week on Thursday. And then now with San Juan coming on early next year, we'll have gone from one market to 3 markets with JetBlue in less than 12 months. So that's the type of thing that you need to see. And I think what I can tell your audience is when we get these nonstop markets, the key thing is don't assume that they're carved in concrete. These airlines are here to make money. They want to make sure that what they do is successful, and they can pull a plane in a market out very easily and put it somewhere else. Right. So when we are successful, when we're able to get that new nonstop, really got to try to fly it. You've got to do that. Don't drive to Richmond. Don't drive to Washington. Don't drive down to Raleigh or wherever may have been something that maybe could save you a few bucks. Because when the airline will look back at the numbers, they can actually tell based on credit card information or other data that I started my trip at ORF. I mentioned a couple minutes ago, my wife and I had a trip last month. We were going to England. Well, I could have gone to Washington and then flown directly to England. We flew from here and made a connection over Boston because that data shows to the airline that these are 2 people that flew to Europe from Hampton Roads. When I go sit down with my colleagues and I go sit down with airlines and talk about, hey, we want to get that nonstop to Europe, which believe me, Connor, everybody asks us for all the time. Data like that is very, very effective. In fact, it's one of the first things that the airlines look for. So when you drive to Washington or you drive to Baltimore or somewhere else, you're actually hurting our capability to have that successful business case with those airlines.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to make a Europe trip myself earlier this year, and we started out in Norfolk as well. So now I feel like I'm,
you're doing your part, man.
I'm doing my part. This is great. And it's a help us, help you situation,
Absolutely.
Right? Because the more people fly out of Norfolk for various destinations, the more confidence instilled by various airlines in this location.
Absolutely.
And then expansion, growth, and ultimately helpful for everybody in our community.
And we're working really hard to come back to that European angle again. We are working really hard. We're working with the Hampton Roads Alliance, the Hampton Roads Executive Roundtable, members of different municipalities and state government to try to put a group together to be able to go out and make the case for Hampton Roads to get that European service. I think sometimes people think it's as simple as just snapping your fingers and saying, hey, I'd like a flight to wherever, and then boom, it just shows up.
Right.
It doesn't work that way, particularly with international. It takes sometimes years to be able to build that business case. You've got to find the right airline to fly it. They have to have the right business case. They have to have the restrictions removed. Maybe they have a close alliance partnership with somebody that's very strong in DC, and they don't want to chip away at that market share in DC, so they're going to be reluctant to do it. You also got to have the right aircraft. To fly that far, this is not a market that's going to support a wide-body aircraft with 250, 300 seats. We're just not that big. So you've got to find an airline that has an aircraft that is narrow-body but capable of flying that distance to be able to make it work, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, very good. And then I want to talk Real ID just a little bit. This has been a big change that you guys have been undergoing, and I know that it's a DMV initiative, not necessarily a Norfolk International initiative, but you are a part of it, as people are now expected to have their Real IDs when we go to the airport. Can you give us an update on where we are at with that and what people's options are?
So the Real ID thing kind of was a nothing burger earlier in the year. I think it reminded me of Y2K, if people can remember going back to that. Everybody got really hyped up and thought it was going to be mass chaos, and it really wasn't. TSA did a phenomenal job of informing people what the workarounds might be, whether that's a passport, whether that's whatever options may be there. What's concerning now is TSA is actually looking at talking about having charges to be put into place beginning sometime next year, to where if you don't have a Real ID compliant documentation with you, whether it's an outdated license or not a passport or something along those lines, they may charge you for the ability to be screened and move forward. And I think that's something that could cause delays and certainly could make some people upset. So we're watching that fairly closely. If you can get a real ID between now and when you need to fly, certainly it's going to save you a lot of hassle. If you've got a passport, that will save you the hassle as well. But so far, it hasn't been really big problem there. I think what we're looking forward now is how this potential for charging people for not having an ID may affect people in the lines, because we don't want lines to be delayed.
Yeah, and then we heard the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, in a press conference that I think may have been before Thanksgiving, I can't remember exactly, talking about travel etiquette. And sort of, obviously he's talking nationwide, but he was talking about how travel etiquette has maybe gone downhill a little bit. Is that something that you guys have noticed as well? Is that something that is significant to you guys? Do you feel as though people's behavior when they travel has declined in some way?
I don't think it has anything to do with how people dress. Honestly, not quite sure what his motivation or thoughts were for that. I think, during COVID, you started to see more people that maybe weren't accustomed to traveling, and the pajamas and the floppy slippers and things like that sort of came out. But I don't know that really changes the way people behave or how air travel is perceived.
Right.
I think it's really a matter of society just got to work on being nice to each other. We're losing that, I think, in many ways. And take some time, take some patience. Remember that these people that are working, whether it's the store clerk or the waitress, whether it's the TSA, whether it's your flight attendant, they're trying to do their job. They're trying to get everybody where they need to be safely with a good experience. And I think we can all benefit when we give some people a little bit of grace and patience in those regards.
Right. Nobody wants there to be delays. Nobody wants there to be long lines.
Right.
Nobody. Speaking of being nice to people, I've noticed personally, the last couple of times I've flown, I don't have to take my shoes off anymore. How come that changed? Why are we now able to keep our shoes on as we go through security?
I honestly can't speak to that, Connor.
Okay.
I know that I've seen it, but I don't really know the rationale to why TSA has put that in place. They've had the pre-check program for a long time that many people were able to sign up, and that was a bit of an extra layer of security. But in terms of what changed with regard to the general rules of taking shoes on and off, I'm really not well equipped to answer that question.
Yeah. Okay. So a noted change that we'll kind of have to continue to explore a little bit, and one that I certainly welcome. I never loved taking my shoes off when I was out there getting ready to go. So it has been kind of nice moving through security with the shoes on. Now, Naya, do you have any questions for Mr. Jones? I know you were saying that you're an avid traveler. Do you have any questions?
She's smirking. I don't know.
I was actually going to ask, because you were talking about convenience and then the real IDs. The digital ID, is that fully in effect at ORF?
It is. In fact, that was something that they rolled out, DMV rolled that out, I want to say about a year ago. And I was an early adopter. I signed up for it, and it didn't work the few times that I tried to do it, and I actually had dialogue with the DMV afterward with the TSA. They were very adherent in terms of listening to what my issues were, and they worked with me to find out what the solution was. And I've since tested it myself. I've had a few other people that I knew download it, checked it out. It works really, really well. The one hiccup that I found, I was traveling last week coming back, and the airline wouldn't use my digital ID to verify who I was when I was checking a bag. So even though I could use it at the security checkpoint with the TSA to board the flight, I was still lucky that I had my actual physical driver's license with me, because Delta Airlines needed me to prove that I was who I said I was when I was checking the bag in. So I don't think we're fully at a point yet. The airline agent explained to me, this was in Kansas City, that they're not equipped yet with the equipment to verify that digital ID is actually an ID. But in terms of the TSA and that portion of it, it has worked really, really well.
Okay, excellent. So something that is in progress and that should be is a viable option now, and should continue to just grow as something that more and more people use.
I think I read it was more than 30 states have adopted those platforms so far. So I think the more it becomes commonplace and gets closer to being live in all 50 states, that will naturally trickle back down to places like the airline agents being able to use it as well.
Okay, very good. Naya, anything else?
Nothing else for me.
Okay, now I would ask this. If you were to give one piece of advice to someone who's going to be traveling soon, and they're like, we've got someone here who maybe has a little bit more information than the common person, or is more experienced with travel at least, what's one piece of advice you could give to people that maybe not everybody realizes that could just make travel easier for them?
I'm a big proponent of not checking a bag if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
We hear people a lot of times, especially in Norfolk, talk about the time that it takes to get their bags once they've come off of their flights. Mm-hmm. That's the airline's responsibility to get those bags from the plane back out to the carousel. And I think they try their best, they do their best, but a lot of times it's just overwhelming. You get several flights coming in all at once, and it causes delays. I try to avoid that where I can. That if I can remove one less variable from the equation of something that may go wrong, having my bag in my own hand is something that makes me feel a little bit more at ease. Now, sometimes that becomes problematic if you've got a late boarding group and you're worried about getting your flight on the aircraft. You may have to gate check the bag, but that's something that if you can consolidate down to carry as much as you can fit in a carry-on and nothing more, to me, that's my biggest travel hack.
Okay, very good. So we got a travel hack, lots of information about the growth at Norfolk International Airport. We did not get to talk to you about a report from Madison Schlegel we had last week about the expanded food options. Maybe we'll save that for next time. We'd love to have you in here again. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No, greatly appreciate the opportunity to do this, and thanks WVEC for giving us the opportunity.
No doubt. Thank you. That is Chris Jones, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Norfolk International Airport, hanging out with us for a while here. We appreciate you taking the time, answering all of our questions, and we certainly will talk to him again, maybe when the summer comes and some of those summer vacations start up. We can have Mr. Jones back in here. For now, we're going to reset. We're going to have Tim Pandages in here with a full forecast very soon. Naya, while we kind of get everything set, and we kind of bring Tim in and bring Mr. Jones out, can we go live to President Trump? And we'll listen in to what's happening at his at the Oval Office, and then we will be back here in Live Impact News with more on our weather impact alert in just a moment.
Secretary Bassett and Jameson Greer, they're tremendous, and they're negotiating hard out there for farmers and ranchers. And I know it's because you're setting the tone. But this is that bridge, and so we need to come back to Secretary Rollins. Thank you. Your leadership on this was vital. And Mr. President, you're right, they love you in farm country out there. All you have to do is drive out and see the flags and
the signs all over the fields.
On the hay bales, right?
It's a great honor. They're great people, the best people.
This is really important. Really important for our farmers and ranchers. Thank you very much.
You're doing a great job too, John. Thank you. And whatever we need, we get through the Senate, we get through the House, we'll get it done. I think we'll start maybe with Court Hollow, and you come from that place that I'm very happy with.
I hail from the great state of Iowa. I'm surrounded here by some of the greatest farmers in the area, and from across the country. Anything from rice farmers, we've got all sorts of cotton farmers, everything. Everything is here represented so well. And first off, from me, I want to say thank you for this bridge payment. It's Christmas early for farmers. And just to kind of have an icebreaker here for the story, I've got a 2-year-old little boy at home. 2-year-old little boy and a 4-month-old little girl. And the other day I was reading my little boy a story at night, putting him to bed, and he said, "Daddy, I don't want Santa Claus to come to our house for Christmas. I want President Trump." and I think, Mr. Trump, I think you brought Christmas to farmers with this bridge payment. We'll be able to farm another year, help us get by. It's such an honor to be here with you. I lost my grandfather and a hired hand in 2002 in a farming accident. And he instilled in me at an early age to love the land, to take pride in what we do.
Was that a machine accident?
It was a machine accident. And it gets in your blood to farm. It's in our blood. Despite what happened, I want my 2-year-old to farm. I want my 4-month-old daughter to have an opportunity. And what you're doing here in DC is working. You have a backbone to stand up to other countries for trade. You're getting things done. Tax provisions. I'll be able to potentially pass on a farm to my children because of you. Ethanol. You're working for ethanol. Trying to get E15 year-round. We're dealing with California. Prop 12. Let's continue to work on that. I think we can have a lot of domestic product used here in the country. and we can keep America first, and you're good at that. That is who you are. And if we keep that E15, you could have the biggest.
E15 is a big deal?
The E15 is a great deal, year-round.
Okay.
You could have the biggest stamp. I did that. Trump did that, and we would thank you. Farmers would love you more than anything if we could continue that. Continue to use domestic product, use the byproducts, and even be able to export to other countries. And so what you've done here, and just having us here in the White House with you, sitting beside the Secretary and all these other great individuals here, what a true honor. And I will take pride in this meeting, and I will take this home for many generations to come. And because of what you're doing, hopefully them generations can stay on the whole Bland farm.
Well, we're going to bring you into the Oval Office when we're finished, okay? The farmers, nobody else, just the farmers. And we'll take some pictures. Our representatives also. Okay? We have to look at them because they're doing a great job, John and Austin. We appreciate it. You're doing a great job. Meryl, go ahead, please. Tell us about rice.
Rice. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me here. And my friend, the secretary, you have an incredible lady right here. She really is. Along with being a mother of 3 and a wife, I run my family's agribusiness, Kennedy Rice Mill, in a little town called Merage, Louisiana, about 1,000 people in the northern part of the state. We employ around 150 people taking rice from the field to a finished product, supplying some of the largest food companies that many of you would know here domestically, but also abroad. And my sisters and I, because there is 4 of us, right? I'm the youngest of 4 daughters, started our own rice brand a few years ago to just tell the story of American agriculture that hadn't really been told before. But I wish I was here under better terms. I'll tell you, I think the rice industry thanks you sincerely for what you have done for the California rice market and to Japan. It has been monumental for our industry, but us in the South are really struggling. I mean, this is not just a crisis. I would say it's almost a market dynamics that really are true anti-competitive nature, right? So it follows what you sent out this weekend. And we do believe that countries are dumping rice into this country today. We've never seen imports this great.
Which countries?
India, Thailand, even China into Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico used to be one of the largest markets for U.S. rice. We haven't shipped rice into Puerto Rico in years. So this has been happening for years. This didn't start during your administration, but unfortunately, we're seeing it in a much bigger way now. The tariffs are working.
All right, so a brief listen in to the Oval Office with President Trump and other members there at his round table talking about, it appeared as though they were talking about some of his policies and the impacts that they've had on them. If we get more information on that event, or if we get time to go back out to D.C. and listen in, we certainly will. But again, as we know, today in Hampton Roads, it's a weather impact alert. We're trying to keep you as updated as possible on everything that's going on. And for the first time ever in the history of live impact news, the chief meteorologist, Tim Pandages, joins us now in studio. What a treat. We had to hold ourselves back from asking for pictures before we started the broadcast. Tim Pandages in the house. Tim, it is a big day. How are you and how are things looking out there?
Connor, so far the storm's performing exactly as expected. It started off as mainly a cold rain across the majority of Hampton Roads, and as we've gone through the day from northwest to southeast, we've seen the cold air kind of intrude and changes over to some snow, and now it's snowing through most of the south side. It's beginning to cross the Virginia state line into North Carolina, where we're seeing some snow there. And you'll also notice when you look at radar here, there's some pretty good banding setting on up, pretty much between Richmond and Norfolk, right over the peninsula, Williamsburg down to Newport News, Hampton, seeing some very good snowfall rates there, and it's already starting to coat up the roadways out there. So we are beginning to see those impacts, and that evening commute today, going to be impactful. Icy spots with temperatures continuing to drop to at or below the freezing mark out there. Now, you may be wondering, we've got temperatures that are marginal or even several degrees above freezing, and it is still snowing. That's because aloft, going about 5,000 feet, what we call the 850 millibar temperatures, the heights, that's well below freezing there, so it is promoting snow to fall from the cloud base, and then before it can completely melt, we do have it reaching the ground as some wet snowflakes. Now, we'll eventually start to see that snow density or the snow fluff factor kind of increase as we go through the afternoon and evening hours as that colder air begins to intrude from the north and west. But look at this banding setting on up here over the peninsula, pretty much stretching from Surrey, northern portions of Isle of Wight, over into York County, Newport News, James City County, seeing some very good snowfall rates. We're talking about probably an inch an hour snowfall rates right now. Now, some of this is being lost to melting, but it is overwhelming the warmer surfaces, and we are starting to see it accumulate on some area roadways out there. We'll check out some of the cameras here in these areas in just a minute. Colonial Williamsburg is looking like a winter wonderland out there. Going a little farther south into portions of central Suffolk, over into southern Isle of Wight, Southampton, city of Franklin, seeing widespread snow, some pockets of some moderate snow falling there. And where you get over to the Great Dismal Swamp, portions of Chesapeake, North Suffolk, maybe a little bit of some rain mixing on in at times there, but predominantly we're over to some frozen precipitation now, and that's even kind of transitioned over to northern Virginia Beach. I saw some folks on Facebook indicating down towards Mill Dam area starting to see a change over, or Red Mill I should say, change over to some wet snow there just north of Pungo. Now, bigger picture here, our storm system that's been taking shape throughout the day today really kind of started out with two separate areas of low pressure. One here that's coming in over the mountains from the north and west, a clipper type system, and then a piece of energy riding along the southeast coastline. Now, these two are working in tandem with one another, and that clipper is actually transferring its energy to the one developing off the coast, so it's enhancing some of that snowfall out across southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. You can see the two areas of low pressure kind of taking shape here, one diving into the west of Raleigh, and the other one here well south of Wilmington off the coast of North Carolina. That will be jetting off to the east and northeast, pulling with it eventually this precip belt that's right now falling as predominantly snow across most of Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina. So temperatures are king here. When we get down into the mid-30s, again, supported with the temperatures aloft that are much, much colder, we are still seeing snow, despite most locations here seeing temperatures 34, 35, but radar indicating that snow is falling. If you get out towards Longview, portions of Isle of Wight where you get down to around freezing, most of the rest is south side, looking at 34, 35, even Craddock at 37 right now, 34 at Norfolk International. This has fallen significantly over the last couple of hours. And around noon or so, it was around 40 degrees, so now we're down to 34. 34 Chesapeake Regional over to Deep Creek, Crestwood at 35, Wilroy at 33, Kings Fork 33, and Suffolk Executive right now sitting at 35. Now, as we go up to the north into the peninsulas and the eastern shore, we are below the freezing mark at 31 at Gloucester, Saluda, Mollusk, Hockley down to 30, same with Toano, Hudgens at 33, and even along the eastern shore, we do have some of that banding here out towards Eastville and Exmoor. Starting to see some of that those temperatures dropping below the freezing mark. Wachapreague sitting at freezing at this time. Now, northeast North Carolina, where we are still seeing a plain old cold rain. In fact, it's almost 50 degrees as you get out towards Kitty Hawk with that influence of the onshore winds still developing there. 48 at Kitty Hawk, 44 at Duck, 41 this hour out at Currituck. You go inland, though, and you start to see the change over to some snow. Hertford at 36, same at Belvedere, 35 over at Gatesville, 36 at Morgan's Corner. And then, of course, the jackpot snowfall so far is up and along the peninsula. Look at these shades of dark blue indicating the snowfall rates over an inch an hour. 32 at Fort Eustis, freezing mark at Newport News, freezing at Williamsburg, Comet at 32, same at Newport News, 33 at Seaford over to Yorktown at this hour, Poquoson, Langley down to 33 as well. We are starting to see the snow lay on some area roadways and sidewalks, not just the grassy or elevated surfaces at this time, so it is impacting travel there, and of course, I-64 runs right through there. It's also been a very windy day. Those winds coming in out of the north and east, and we've seen some recent wind gusts up and over 30 to 35. In fact, Cape Henry clocked a recent gust of 41 miles an hour. 37 at Naval Station Norfolk, same at the International Airport. 30 miles an hour at Virginia Beach, nearly 30 at Hampton over to Newport News. 18 down to Chesapeake, and over 20 at Fentress Airfield there. Still very windy down through the Outer Banks, 40 out of Duck, but again, coming off those warmer ocean waters, it is keeping temperatures through the Outer Banks well safely above that freezing mark and likely won't get even close until we get well into the overnight tonight, well after the snow has departed. So let's take a look here at some of the Skyview cameras. This is out at Nauticus here in Norfolk, where earlier we were seeing some big wet snowflakes coming on down and reduced visibilities. It's let up a little bit there, but it is still falling as all snow. Notice we are not seeing any accumulations just yet. Even the grassy areas here out of Town Point Park not showing much in the way of any accumulations just yet. I really think we'll start to see it really start to lay after the sun goes down, which is only just an hour and a half from now. Different story, though, as you get up into Oyster Point, Newport News, along the peninsula. You can see accumulations are ongoing there, where we do have pretty good accumulation, maybe an inch or two already on the ground there. You can see it even covering the roadways in some of these areas, and conditions will just get more and more slippery as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening. Jordan Bridge between Chesapeake and Portsmouth, you can see road surfaces there are just fine. Bridges and overpasses, though, will be the first to get slippery as we head on through this evening, of course, because they are completely surrounded by the colder air, and they will drop those road surface temperatures much quicker. You can see some snowflakes at times drifting through there, but again, lighter side precipitation. Out at the ocean front, just some very rough surf with those strong onshore winds right now, and that's about it. Still falling as plain old rain here along the immediate ocean front out in Virginia Beach. And we go down to Elizabeth City, again, green grass with nothing accumulating, and in fact, it's likely just falling as some light rain for you there now. And then here is Colonial Williamsburg, where we are starting to see some accumulations on the road surfaces there with some snow coming down. Again, these are still images that refresh every couple of minutes, so it's not a stream, but overall you can get the feel for what's happening there. There's some moderate to even heavy snow developing and falling currently out in Williamsburg. Now, there has been some changes to the overall weather alerts that we have. Winter storm warnings have slowly been added on farther to the east. So now Southampton, Isle of Wight, including Newport News, Williamsburg, York County, James City County, Surrey, over to Sussex, all under winter storm warnings. And these are the areas that will see the highest snow totals once all is said and done. Winter storm warnings constitute a possibility of seeing at least 4 inches of snow within about 12 hours or 24 hours worth of time, and that's looking pretty likely here by the time everything wraps up. Now, when you get into the purples, those are winter weather advisories. These areas can see anywhere from 1 to maybe as high as 3 inches. To get that higher end, you're going to have to go well far inland, pretty much right up against some of these areas that are under that winter storm warning. But again, it does encompass the I-64 corridor, pretty much from Richmond all the way down to Newport News. So some rough travel expected there later this afternoon and evening. And you see, even though it's been raining for a large chunk of time down into northeastern North Carolina, especially Currituck County, they are still under a winter weather advisory, so they could see up to 1 inch of snow accumulating. Again, I think best bet will be as the sun goes down, once we really start to cool those temperatures down later on this evening. Now, expected snowfall. Again, haven't changed this very much. Still looking at a large swath of 2 to 4. Again, those areas that are under that winter storm warning. And then as you get a little bit farther to the east, close to the coast, those really drop substantially. You can see the darker blue here. That does include Norfolk, down into Chesapeake, over into Gates County, Hertford County, 1 to 2 inches potentially here, grassy, and then eventually on roadways as well. And then the areas here that we did see the transition from the rain over to some snow still has yet to happen in far northeastern North Carolina. These areas may be up to 1 inch to the immediate waterfront, north side Virginia Beach, as you get closer to 264, 64 interchange, maybe 1 inch, 1.5 inches in some of those spots. So certainly enough to cause slick spots, not the best timing for the evening commute. And then the other kind of part of this overall scenario is after this snow pulls away, temperatures tonight, upper 20s in a lot of areas. So everything out there that's wet right now, any snow that lays on the road surfaces, you've got that layer of wetness under it, that's all going to become a sheet of ice by early tomorrow morning. So I would bet if you had some early dismissals today in those areas, you'll probably get either a delayed opening tomorrow or maybe a snow day tomorrow because of those slick spots early on. Let's time things out. Now, I do want to show you that we're in for several more hours of some snow here. Here we are starting things off right now. Pretty good initialization of that rain snow line. Far southeastern Virginia still seeing some rain, also northeast North Carolina, but everybody else west and inland seeing snow. Here we are, 5 p.m., about 30 minutes past sunset at this point. Likely accumulations occurring on area surfaces, because look at temperatures. They're down into the upper 20s now in inland spots, down to freezing at Suffolk, 33 down to Hertford. We'll progress to around 8 o'clock tonight, 8:30. We still have ongoing snow showers and snow squalls occurring, so several hours after sunset. And it's not until between 9 and 11 o'clock tonight that we finally start to see the last of the snow push away off to the east. And by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, the majority of Hampton roads, the exception being the immediate coastline, is well below the freezing mark. So slick spots are certainly expected in most areas, even if you will rain for the entire duration of time, because you see even Elizabeth City is down to 30 degrees by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that's where we stand right now here in Futurecast. Let's go back over to radar, Conrad, and if you guys have any questions, let's walk through the scenario if you want to.
I will jump in with a couple of questions. One, I appreciate you pointing out that critical piece that we've been talking about for the last hour here, which is the propensity for ice on those roads with the combination of the precipitation, and even once it stops coming from the skies, those freezing temps are going to be critical. I wonder if you can easily rewind here, because something did catch my eye. When you were on temperatures and radar right at 3 p.m., and you were kind of showing us the Virginia Beach, Norfolk, the south side area. Are you able to go back to that?
Sure.
I know, and it looks like you're kind of on it right now. So this is exactly,
yes,
this is exactly what I was looking for. Tim Pantages on top of the game. Now, what creates that green oval around the Chesapeake area?
So this is just a radar depiction of what the computers think is falling right now based on the temperature profile, okay? So even though we've got an area here of right around the freezing mark, just a degree or two warmer, this is likely still falling as some snow, and sometimes this lags a little bit behind too. The radar sweep will come on through and then it'll change back over to blue there. So this is just likely an area where we're seeing a fluctuation back and forth between wet snow mixed in with some rain and just plain old snow at this time. So that's what indicates that. This is kind of a misnomer here. It's not usually factual of what's actually occurring at the ground. This is also getting depicted a little bit aloft too. So
okay, and then just looking at our tower cams throughout the day, we have seen snow in Hampton, over by Warwick, in Suffolk, in Norfolk, even like you said, by Nauticus. We saw quite a bit of snow actually. We have yet to see any in Virginia Beach. Do you expect flurries in Virginia Beach at some point?
Well, I certainly do. You know, I was looking at my Ring doorbell camera out, and I live in northern Virginia Beach, and it is snowing there.
Okay.
So we are seeing snow. It's not accumulating or anything, but we have seen that transition over northern Virginia Beach, and that's going to tick its way south, especially, I tell you, after sunset, it's going to be like a different world. Once the sun goes down, we'll really start to see things slicking on up there, and unfortunately, that's prime time for that evening commute out there. So side roads first, intermediate roads secondary, and then eventually highways will even get slick too. I did see like VDOT all lined up along 264 ready to go if they need to go. So.
And then can we get a live look at Tim's doorbell camera on Impact News? Is that something that we'll work on that for next time?
There, no.
Naya, do you have any questions for Tim?
I do not have any questions. You were saying that you were going to take us through the Futurecast?
Yes, we can go through that. I just want to find that the sky view again out at LFCU, because that was quite a snowy scene.
And that's the one that we've been focusing on too. I mean, it is coating the ground there. You can see it's even accumulating on the roads. And that's the one where we saw that first started snowing. Yep,
look at that. It is. Winter Wonderland up there in Newport News. And they're the ones that are seeing that very heavy band. So let's go back up to radar and give you a zoom in. You can see the darker blues shaping up through Williamsburg. And this has pretty much been meandering northwest and southeast through the afternoon. So really just kind of blanketing this area with some pretty significant totals. I'll be interested to see some of the reports that come in there. And then even just crossing the James over into Surrey County, even northern portions of Isle of Wight, likely getting some good snowfall there right now as well. And this does extend over into southern Gloucester and even Matthews as well. And you could see this is down here. Down over here where Newport News, we're at Oyster Point. So that's even just south of where that band is currently set up, and they've got pretty good snow and reduced visibilities there.
Yeah, it is unrelenting out there in that shot at Hampton. I mean, that has been going since about 1:30 today, even earlier maybe.
Yeah, and then you look at downtown Norfolk, where we've got some light to moderate snow here, and we can pull up the camera here from downtown. Let's see. This one's out at
Nauticus.
Yeah, this one out Nauticus. Yeah. We do have some moderate snow here, but again, it's not accumulating. You can see all the grassy areas there. Not seeing accumulations yet. You're going to start seeing it on the car hoods, that type of thing here as we approach sunset within the next hour. Then after sunset, it'll all start really accumulating, I think, on roads.
And we looked at this Nauticus cam not too long ago, and you couldn't even see the cranes in the back because the visibility was so distorted. It has cleared up a little bit in that sense, but certainly still snowfall coming down over in downtown Norfolk.
Yeah, and this will continue, as I said, we'll see it wrap up probably by the 11 o'clock show. We'll still have some lingering snow showers probably along the immediate ocean front. So several more hours here. It's not over yet.
Okay. Now, all right, so we have a very clear view of the fact that this weather impact alert, you guys kind of called this. There is serious snowfall throughout various parts of our viewing area. Do you want to kind of walk us through? We know what overnight and into the morning, what to expect. You said that there could be delays due to the dangerous driving conditions. And then where are we headed as we dig into the day tomorrow? Will this subside by the time the afternoon comes tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely. We will get above freezing tomorrow, which is the good news, probably after 10 a.m. or so. So morning hours, a lot of slick spots. So here's how it looks. We'll just go through tonight, and then we'll walk through tomorrow's forecast into tomorrow afternoon and evening. So as we go through the rest of the evening hours, again, temperatures are continuing to drop. We'll be in the 20s just after sunset in areas northwest, down around 34, probably a little bit colder than that, maybe down to 33 or 32 at the airport in Norfolk, freezing at Suffolk, and even down into the mid-30s in New Elizabeth City. Again, approaching 8:30 tonight, we are still dealing with ongoing snow showers and snow squalls, although likely letting up a bit in terms of its overall intensity. And then 10, 11 o'clock, we see the last of it begin to pull away to the east offshore. Skies will clear out tonight. And temperatures, these are just air temperatures, okay? It's still going to be breezy too, so wind chills will be down into the teens. We are at or below the freezing mark in most areas, so widespread icy conditions tomorrow morning because we all got in on the precipitation today, no matter if it was rain or snow. Even areas where it's been raining, look at, they're getting down into the upper 20s and low 30s in places like Elizabeth City, down to a husky. So we're all going to be dealing with the icy conditions. I think we're down to 30, again, 20s inland by tomorrow morning. Cold with icy spots with the snow tapering on off, again, by 10, 11 o'clock from west to east. And then for tomorrow, your Tuesday, we will get well above the freezing mark, but still a very chilly day. Keep in mind, 56 is where we should be this time of the year. And Connor, I got a little stat for you. I went back and I was crunching some numbers for the first week of December, and it's been a cold start to December, would you say?
Yeah, well below average. I mean,
and
frigid.
All the highs and all the lows, we had an average temperature of 40.75. Wow. That's the 8th coldest start, first week of December on record. Do you know last year was the 3rd coldest start to December? And what happened last winter?
Last winter, we had no major snowfalls.
Oh, that's quite the opposite.
We had one major snowfall.
We had several snowfalls, 2 in January, 1 in February.
But one that was really, it would like outpace the others.
Yeah, we ended up with like 16.8 inches last winter.
2 years ago, we had no major snowfalls. Is that right?
We broke the snow drought last year.
Okay, yes.
January 9th or something, I think we got an inch.
Yes, okay, because I remember last year, actually, we stayed in downtown Norfolk in order to make sure that we could get back to the station to report on that snow. Okay, this is a brief. When I get to talking to Tim, you know, I lose all my senses
here. I love the
here.
stats. I love some stats.
Okay, so last year 3rd, this year 8th. It's shocking to think as we sit now that last year early December was actually colder because it just feels so cold this year. But it was even colder last year
I think our
on
average
average.
temperature last year was like 38. For the first week of December, and this year was 40. So we were a little bit warmer, but I mean, we also had snow this year on November 11th.
On November 11th.
0.2 of an inch. So
those below average temperatures in the first half of December, does that indicate to you a likelihood of snow? Is there a correlation?
I was just drawing the similarities that's possible. I don't think there's anything that, yes or no, but it could be an indication that it's going to be a colder than normal winter and snowier winter. Especially we've seen this storm track be quite active, favoring colder intrusion from the north and an active storm track to the south. So, I've got family up in New Jersey, and they've been saying they haven't had like that much snow at all in the last several winters. It's all been coming south or to their north. So it's been an active southern stream of energy, and that looks to be playing out now.
So if you want a balmy, nice, warm winter, you got to go up to New Jersey.
I don't know if it's balmy, but it's snowless. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So freezing out here in early December, and I believe below average in August, September, and October as well, and then November was a little bit more up and down. Is that fair?
That's maybe. I don't recall that off the top of my head, but it could be.
Okay.
I know that June was like one of the hottest, and then we weren't.
And June was incredible.
Warm after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Hampton Roads weather roller coaster continues. That much we do know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you got for us, Tim? Is there anything else we need to know as we move through this weather impact alert day?
No, I think that the evening commute is going to turn very slippery, overnight travel as well, and then tomorrow morning's commute, widespread icy conditions, very likely, even as the snow is long gone by that point. In some areas, Peninsula will be having to shovel things out. Maybe even some of the areas of the south side having to shovel a little bit of some snow after it really starts to lay after the sun goes down. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that once the sun sets this evening, it's really going to change things because everything's wet out there now, and once the sun goes down, we don't have the heating element of it being daytime.
Right.
And temperatures will be falling to coincide with that, so everything's going to ice up pretty quickly. And it hasn't been, everybody says, the ground's been so warm. Well, we've been very chilly the last week. Yes, temperatures were above freezing, but they don't have that far to go to bring the ground surface down to close to freezing to accommodate accumulating snow. So I don't think we're that far off from seeing that.
Okay, so we know that we are going to have icy roads and freezing conditions. Be all the more cautious. Tim, before we let you go, we do have to ask, you said it is snowing outside of your place a little bit based on your doorbell cam.
Yeah, let me check again.
Give it another check. And while you do that, I'll ask, we know that you are a beloved owner of dogs there. How does the dog react to the snow? Is he a dog that likes to go out and frolic, or is it, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm getting back in the house as soon as possible?
Well, I've never had a dog that didn't like the snow, so I think they enjoy it, and they get it. They put their nose in it, and then they go start running around in circles. So that's typically the reaction that they give.
Okay, so it's a winter wonderland at the house of Tim Pandages. And Tim, we appreciate you taking time away from that house to be here with us on Live Impact News. And of course, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you can see Tim Pandages on 13 News Now, bringing you all the updates you need to know. Our weather team has been hard at work in the lab, making sure that not a stone goes uncovered in terms of keeping you safe and keeping you informed. Tim, Live Impact News, your thoughts?
Love it.
Okay.
I love the format here. And Connor, like I told you earlier, you're perfect for this.
No, Tim, don't you dare. Nia really enjoyed that.
You and Nia are a great team doing this. Honestly.
That's right. Oh, see, Tim's gassing me up now. Well, we're going to have to do it more often.
Me, Tim?
Oh, yeah,
and Nia, yes.
Nia's over there doing great things, as usual.
That means we're going to have to do it a little bit more often, which means we will have Tim back on Live Impact News at some point in the near future, especially, as he said, last year we had a very cold December, and we had some major snow in the wintertime. This year, a very cold December. It remains to be seen. But if we do have more snow coming our way, you can expect to see Tim Pandages right here on Live Impact News. Tim, you're the man. I want to look at that doorbell camera after this. I want to see the winter wonderland outside of the Pandages Palace. Done deal.
Sounds good.
That was Tim Pandages. Now, let's do a very brief reset. It is 3:30 p.m. We have had forecasts from both Tim Pandages and Evan Stewart. We've heard from VDOT. We've heard from Virginia Beach Emergency Management. We've heard from Norfolk International Airport. We have checked all of our tower cams. We'll do so again before we leave. But for now, I want to go back out to the White House. We listened to President Donald Trump very briefly there, holding an event that we didn't know much about at the time. It is, in fact, the announcement of a $12 billion aid package for American farmers. This was confirmed by the White House, by a White House official to ABC News. Now, the package will include $11 billion in one-time payments to crop farmers through a new Department of Agriculture bridge payment program. The rest of the funds will then go to other crops not covered by that program. So this aid package being announced today by President Donald Trump, and that is some of what you saw in those conversations before we went to Tim Pandages out at the White House. Now, we know this comes in the wake of the fact that soybean farmers in particular have been especially impacted by the United States and China trade war. China was the biggest buyer of United States soybeans in 2024, $12.64 billion in sales. But throughout the course of this trade war with China, those soybean farmers have suffered. And so now China had blocked all purchase of soybeans from the U.S. And so now relief comes to farmers in the form of an aid package. So let's now it appears as though we have some camera movement here. We were just about to go live out to the White House, but it appears as though there's a relocation happening or something to that degree. So could we do this, Nia? Could we instead pick that up from the beginning of our recording of that event?
Yeah, I can pull that up right quick.
Okay, let's go ahead and pull that up from the beginning of our event. In the meantime, we're going to take another look over here at the scene out in Hampton. This is undoubtedly the snowiest tower camera shot that we have seen today. Tim was really harping on the fact that there is legitimate accumulation happening out there in Hampton. You look at the ground there, you can see it on the twigs of the trees, and you can even see very slight accumulation on the roadways there behind that Christmas tree that's right in the center. And so we have been really keeping a close eye on this particular tower camera shot because it has showed our most consistent snowfall really since we started this stream. We have been seeing steady, cold precipitation throughout our viewing area, but this shot right here in Hampton near Oyster Point is where we've seen a true, as Tim called it, a winter wonderland really, really coming down out there on the peninsula, and that is what we expected. Maybe a more rainier mix towards the coastal areas on the south side, but up in the peninsula and in some of those inland areas, we've seen, Evan Stewart showed us some pictures out in Williamsburg that were very snowy. We spoke with Brianna Fallon, who was out by Warwick Boulevard very early on. I mean, right off the top of our show, maybe 1:05 p.m., we spoke with Brianna Fallon, and it was snowing consistently there when we did our live shot with Brianna. And then we spoke with Emily Harrison in Suffolk, and right as we talked to Emily, things were kind of transitioning from a rainier, wintry mixture type of precipitation into what Emily deemed a snow flurry right as we were conversing with her during her live shot. So there obviously are a number of different locations that are experiencing that snow. We continue to monitor the ocean front. The ocean front still is more rainy than anything else out in Virginia Beach. And then, of course, Tim told us at his house in the northern Virginia Beach area, there is, in fact, snow falling. Now, are we ready to go with our clip here, Naya? It appears as though you've got it all queued up for us here. Not quite.
Not quite.
Okay.
It's still loading.
Could you do me a favor while it loads, and could you take me to our weather interceptor, our weather impact interceptor vehicle?
Yeah,
and let's
of course,
take
I
a
can do
look
that
out
for
on the
you.
roads. Our own Derek Lytle is out in that vehicle with Luca Pfeiffer, one of our reporting teams here, out doing their coverage. And we'll have to try to, I believe that was a Great Bridge Road sign that we just saw. We don't know exactly where they are, but we can tell some of the conditions out there where our weather impact interceptor is. It's definitely out in our viewing area, and we can try to read the road signs perhaps as it goes and try to find out exactly where they are. But what we can see is that there is still quite a bit of moisture out there as the camera on top of that vehicle is gathering drops as it goes, but those roadways relatively clear. So as we take a look at our weather impact interceptor to give you an idea of what it's like out on the ground there, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe I did see a sign that looks like it says Fort Eustis Boulevard right there. No, that says Virginia Beach Boulevard and Laskin Road. Okay, so that is exit 20 out there headed towards the ocean front. That's Virginia Beach Boulevard and Laskin Road. So that's out.
Where'd you get Fort Eustis from?
Well, because I saw the word boulevard, and when I was looking at the two words before, I saw Eustis is what I saw.
Okay.
Now, don't call me out. We are on our third hour of live impact news streaming. Every once in a while, a guy's going to throw a Fort Eustis out there where the actual word was a Virginia Beach. And now I got Nia Campbell coming from Iraq, which means she has officially invited herself back onto the microphone. Naya, you did this to yourself. Naya, talk to us a little bit about what we're seeing out here. We're in Virginia Beach. Kind of describe the scene to us a little bit here. We don't see that snowy mixture in Virginia Beach just yet, though we know over by Tim Pandagis's area in the northern area there is some. What are you seeing when you look at our weather impact interceptor shot?
I'm just seeing water on the lens. It looks like we're getting a little bit more rain rather than snowy conditions in Virginia Beach. But like Tim was saying, we still are going to see a lot more snow as the night goes on and the sun goes down. We do have our other weather vehicle out as well, and I can go to that shot.
See, I tried to put Nia Campbell on the spot because she rightfully called me out for misreading the signs, and instead she just rises to the occasion and is just like basically taking my job from me here. Now this shot in our other weather vehicle, you can actually see the snow falling. And again, we don't know exactly, but does this look like William and Mary to you a little bit? We don't want to guess too much because we don't want to misdirect anybody. But our reporters are out and about. Everybody is in different areas across the viewing zone, just reporting on all of the different weather conditions. But based on the fact that I'm seeing students around and I'm seeing people going across crosswalks with backpack over on the left, that looks a little bit more like the William and Mary area to me. What do you think, Naya? I guess we won't speculate too much until we know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's. Are we ready with our video? We talked quite a bit about Donald Trump at the White House, and we showed a little bit, and then we finally got some of our context around that announcement. So I'm wondering if maybe we go to that for just a little bit, and then we can come back here into the studio, and I can see if I can just learn how to correctly read road signs.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out.
No,
but
listen,
yes, that video is ready.
I'm glad you called me out. I needed it. And we're refocused now, and we're ready to finish off the final 21 minutes of this stream strong. This hour 3 here, does it feel like we're getting a little bit more relaxed? We've never done a third hour of streaming.
I mean, I do feel a little bit more relaxed. I don't know about you. You've been doing the most of the talking. How do you feel?
I feel relaxed, but I'm wondering if maybe it's a sense of delirium. Everyone here at the station has been working so hard from kind of the moment we stepped in the door because whenever we have a weather impact alert day, everybody here is really on their toes and doing a little bit extra just to try to make sure that we're able to cover these conditions accurately and informatively. So what we might do is you might have to host the rest of the stream. We'll see how things go.
Okay.
But I'm feeling strong. Yes. Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay. Let's go to President Trump here as he announced a multi-billion-dollar aid package for certain crop farmers earlier today at the White House. Let's listen in.
Losing your shirt, but we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars. If you think about it, Scott, because the real numbers, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me because based on voting trends. You could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Meryl. What do you think? Peanuts for you, though, right? Peanuts. She's a farmer of rice. This relief will provide much-needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops, and it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices for American families. And again, we inherited something that we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we're taking care of it. Farmers are an indispensable national asset, part of the backbone of America. I've always felt it so strongly. They're so important. Unfortunately, under sleepy Joe Biden, he's a sleepy guy, our farmers were crushed by the worst inflation in modern history and crippling restrictions on energy, water, and countless other necessities for farmers. And what they did to the farmer in terms of putting the brakes on was just absolutely unacceptable. In my first term, we had an agricultural trade surplus by a lot. We had a big surplus, meaning we were exporting American agricultural products all over the world, making a net profit, and in many cases, a very substantial profit. He came in and ruined it. Biden turned that surplus into a gaping agricultural deficit that continues to this day, but we're knocking it down. It's starting to go very good. In fact, China, as you know, is buying a tremendous amount of soybeans, and the number, I spoke with President Xi recently, very recently, and I think he's going to do even more than he promised to do. So I think the relationship is a very good one. I think he's going to do more than he promised to do. And what he promised to do is a lot. So we're very happy with that. In the last year, Biden bankruptcies rose by 55%, having to do with farms. So farm bankruptcies under Joe Biden went up 55%. That's not good. But now we're once again in a position where a president is able to put farmers first. But unfortunately, I'm the only president that does that. On day one, I terminated the Green New Scam. Energy prices are down. Gasoline prices are down. We've slashed record numbers of crippling regulations, and we're working on huge trade deals, already securing $60 billion in agricultural purchase commitments. And, you know, Biden made none. He didn't make any trade deals having to do with the farmers or any of it. It's crazy. China committed. He was the worst president in the history of our country, by the way, in case anybody has any questions. China committed to over $40 billion of soybean purchases, and that's a commitment. And I asked President Xi if he could even up it. And I think he'll do that. I mean, not a commitment. The 40 billion is a commitment, but the soybean farmers are quite happy. Since my successful meeting in South Korea with President Xi, purchases have been made and soybeans are being exported out of the United States to China as we speak. And I say that our soybeans, I told this to President Xi, our soybeans are more nutritious than competitors. Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real? In fact, you know who asked me that question? President Xi asked me that question. He said, really, I had never heard of it. And he was a food purchaser for a long time. But that's what I hear. And Japan agreed to $8 billion in purchases of corn, soybeans, ethanol, fertilizer, aviation, biofuel, and rice. You know, Japan never bought rice from anybody else. It's like a very important thing to them. And they agreed to buy rice, okay?
Absolutely.
So I also proudly signed into law the largest tax cuts in history, and the one big, beautiful bill, the monumental tax relief bill that is benefiting very, very strongly, benefiting the American farmer. And I think also for farmers, we have, as you know, and we got this, the estate tax, or the death tax, as they call it, on farmers, on small businesses. You don't have to pay it anymore. A lot of farms, you love your children, and your children are great, and they want to be farmers, and you leave the farm of your children, and a lot of farms are, you know, sort of cash poor, land rich, cash poor, and the kids would go to the local bank or to any bank, and they'd borrow money to pay the estate tax, and they'd end up losing the farm. They go bankrupt, and a lot of death too. You know, literally, because they love their farm and they love their business and they love that way of life, they end up committing suicide. A lot of suicides. We have no more estate tax. How about that? Do you have children?
I do.
Well, let them know. Now, if you love your children, then it's good. If you don't love your children, you don't have to leave them anything. It doesn't matter what I just said.
They're still young. I still love them.
I have a feeling you love them.
I still love them.
I have a feeling you love your children. But the estate tax is a very big thing, so you don't have estate tax. You die, you leave your farm or whatever, or small business to your children, you don't have to pay estate tax. It seems to affect the farmer more than anybody else, because you can have a farm that's very valuable, and therefore you have to pay a big tax, but it's not a big value in terms of cash. Maximizing domestic farm production is a big part of how we will make America affordable again and bring down grocery prices for American families. And again, these are prices that we inherited. When I left, we were doing incredible. In 4 years, what they've done to this country in so many, and not even mentioning the border and the criminals allowed into our country and all of the other. So I just want to say it's a tremendous honor being with you. I'd now like to ask Secretary Rollins to provide some of the details, followed by Secretary Bessent, Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, Senator Bozeman, Representative Scott, and then we go to a couple of the farmers' representatives, but we'll all get involved a little bit. You can speak. Anybody is shy to speak in front of the press, and I don't blame you if that's the case, but farmers, Court Hollop and Merrill Kennedy will say a few words also, and then we'll have a little discussion, okay? Madam Secretary.
Thank you to the greatest boss in the world for a long time now. It's just an honor to be here. I'm going to keep my comments very short because I really want to make sure that you and the world gets to hear from our farmers. So a couple of quick points. Number one, this country and our farm economy is facing a crisis that we inherited that most of these farmers have not seen in their lifetime. Profitability is down. It's just one crisis after another. When we came into office, sir, when you did and you were sworn in on January the 20th, as you mentioned, not one new trade deal had been struck in 4 years. The cost of inputs for our farmers, fertilizer up 36%, manual labor up 47%.
All right, back here in the Live Impact News studio, a brief listen in as President Donald Trump announces that $12 billion package of relief for farmers of certain crops. And again, as we know, the United States-China trade war specifically has hurt the soybean farming industry. That trade war also, in addition to hurting the soybean industry, has been something that has been a major point of headline for us here in our coverage, as there have been meetings between President Trump and President Xi, and still we continue to find ways to mitigate some of the impacts of that trade war. Now, two things are going to happen here. We have Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy giving a live press conference right now, though there's another speaker at the podium. You see Sean Duffy just behind him there. We spoke with a representative from Norfolk International Airport, Chris Jones, the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, earlier today here in studio. Now we're going to toss it out to listen in on what appears to be another airport with the Transportation Secretary. But I also wanted to pop on and say goodbye for the day. We did our extra hour of streaming, which means it's 3:50 p.m. So I need to head out to the studio because 13 News Now at 4 starts in just 11 minutes. And a smile just crept over Nia Campbell's face because she knows that means she will be finishing the show without me. And she also knows that she is, probably going to do it a lot smoother than I would, as evidenced by me sort of rambling through my goodbyes. Really mostly just because I don't want to leave you guys.
I know.
Because I love doing Live Impact.
And a tear.
A smile and a tear. A happy tear with a drop of sadness, because, we're kind of all in this together, especially for those of you who join us on a regular basis. And so having to leave a little early feels like I'm bailing on our crew here that we've been developing and building on Live Impact News. But hopefully everyone will join me at 4 p.m. with Janet Roach, and Nia Campbell will take it from here. Nia, do you want to introduce the press conference with the Transportation Secretary, or should we just throw it live out there and then you'll close the show in a little bit?
I'll just close the show. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks, Nia. Okay, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Live Impact News. Thanks for hanging out with us for 3 hours today. We appreciate it.
Again, she traveled all throughout having our 9 kids, and she would always complain about the lack of facilities when she wanted to nurse. And it's maybe a little odd for 3 guys to talk about nursing and options for nursing. But Isabel Brown, who's a content creator, a young mother with a young baby who travels all the time, is one of many moms who have reached out to complain about the lack of facilities that actually operate, facilities that are clean. And so I've also heard that from young mothers. And so I want to turn it over to Isabel Brown to talk about her experience and maybe what we can do to improve the facilities for nursing mothers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Secretary Duffy, Secretary Kennedy, and the entire Trump administration for your leadership on this and this opportunity as a young woman to express the utmost importance of our ability to serve our children. In all my years of science education, I don't think we have yet figured out a way for men to breastfeed. So thank you for having a young woman's voice here. In many ways, as I have traveled the country day in and day out as a content creator, author, and speaker on college campuses nationwide, I've come to discover over the past few years that our culture has often developed a disdain for young mothers and our babies traveling. But the very nature of our very interconnected culture demands travel for young families every single day in America. It can be incredibly disheartening to see the rolled eyes and visible annoyance and anguish when we sit down with our babies on an airplane seat, but that pales in comparison to the jarring lack of support that many airports across the country provide for breastfeeding moms and baby-friendly spaces. The law does technically require every airport terminal to have a nursing room, but the context of the law says nothing about whether that space is clean, clearly marked, or actually monitored and maintained. So I've often found myself stranded in airports across the country trying to nurse my child when I'm on the go, or trying to pump and take it home with me safely, and seeing that outlets don't work, that there's no sink provided, the lights don't turn on, the door doesn't lock, and more often than not find myself resorting to an experience that I would much rather have avoided in the first place. And broader data tells us that the environment nationally is just not working for breastfeeding moms when they are on the go. A national survey from this year of more than 3,000 breastfeeding moms found that 55% of us do not feel supported in public places across our country like airports, and 81% have resorted to pumping or feeding in their car. Myself and many of my friends have, as a result, found ourselves feeding our babies or trying to pump while sitting uncomfortably in a noisy, messy bathroom stall. When moms feel uncomfortable in airports, we're not just imagining it, it's the infrastructure that is still patchy, it's inconsistent, and it's not designed with real families in mind. This leadership that we're seeing from Secretary Duffy, Secretary Kennedy, and of course President Trump speaks volumes about our desire to revive the American family today and encourage young women to embrace the beauty of motherhood. I find no coincidence that as our public spaces often fail to accommodate for young moms and our beautiful children day in and day out, we're often seeing the lowest fertility rates that we've ever seen in the last few years in American history. As we work to rebuild a culture that supports the entire parenting experience and encouraging young people to embrace the single most important vocation we possibly can experience in bringing new life into this world, we also must embrace this sacred responsibility to help moms feed our babies. I'm so excited about this Make Travel Family Friendly Again initiative and the leadership that we're seeing from Secretary Duffy, Secretary Kennedy, and President Trump in just that, and can't wait to see the American family continue to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was talking to one of the staffers at the White House late last week about this initiative. She was wildly excited because she said, you don't know how many nursing pods they've gone into where they're dirty and the electricity doesn't work. And if you could give us more, but also make sure they're maintained, as Isabel just mentioned, so important. We've also talked about making sure we have healthy options here and on-the-go healthy options. One of those is Farmer's Fridge, a healthier option for you if you have to grab food as you're switching between flights or you're coming a little later to the airport. Shame on you if you are coming late to the airport, but if you do come late to the airport and you have to grab something quick, Farmer's Fridge gives you a healthier option than maybe some others in the airport. I'm pleased to have Luke Saunders, who is the CEO of Farmer's Fridge, to talk a little bit about what he's doing and the health options he offers to America.
Thank you very much, Secretary Duffy and Secretary Kennedy. I'm Luke Saunders, the founder and CEO of Farmer's Fridge. I started the company 12 years ago because I was a frequent traveler. I was a traveling salesman on the road every single week, and I could not find healthy food options on the go. So I made it my mission to make fresh, healthy food as accessible as a candy bar. We started in a shared kitchen, a couple locations. Now we have over 2,000 fridge locations across the country. We partner with a lot of retailers. But we service over 30 airports in the United States. So I just can't say how much I appreciate you guys drawing attention to the need for more healthy food options in the airport, especially fresh, unprocessed food. We still do everything like we did on day one. We get whole fruits and vegetables in, chop them up, cook them, mix them, and bring you Farmer's Fridge 7 days a week, especially at the airport. So thank you guys for your support.
All right, so we are willing to take a few questions from the press. If you have any, just some ground rules. I'll take your questions, or for anyone here, as long as it's on the topic that we're discussing, what we're doing for travel, for airports, for healthier foods. If any of you want to come and do some pull-ups, we'll film you doing that as well. You can have at it. Yeah, go ahead.
Tim Carney, Washington Examiner. What feedback do you guys have any access to feedback from parents of what they actually want for kids? For instance, I don't know that my kids want to eat salads when they're traveling. What is the demand that parents have at airports that's not being met?
Well, and I can pass that to someone else if they want to take it, but I do know that a lot of parents feel like as they're entertaining their kids, there's cell phones and iPads, and Senator Kennedy mentioned that. But if you have a space where it's fun and clean for your child to burn some energy, we all know kids have a lot of energy. If you can give them a space where they can play and have fun in an airport, I think parents would prefer that option. I would always think, can I tire my kid out so they might sleep on the plane? That's always what I would like to have happen. And that play area is one that will do that. I know we would pack apples. Again, my 2-year-old's not eating a salad, right? I get that. But I think there is some planning ahead that parents take to think about what healthy options can they bring on the plane, because kids don't eat a whole lot, especially the young ones. But Senator Kennedy, I don't know if you, or...
I have 3 small kids at Billy Farmer's Fridge. I know I work there, but there's Greek yogurt, chia pudding, some sandwiches and things like that that are more kid-friendly. So we see kids go there all the time.
And Paul says they can eat beef sticks. Eat a little meat, right, Paul?
No, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a child that doesn't like to eat meat. You know, you give a child little pieces of steak, my niece, my nephew, they just eat it up. So you give a kid high-quality meat, they're going to love it. With a little bit of fruit, that's easy.
Literally. Okay. What do you got?
And that's going to do it for Live Impact News. As Connor promised, he is on the desk getting ready right now. The next thing you're going to hear is 13 News Now at 4 o'clock. For Connor Real, I'm Naya Campbell. See you guys tomorrow.